What I want you to explain is the logic behind what you're doing.
Perversion is sick. It's degenerate and sick.
I am altering the deed. Pray I don't alter it any further.
You see what happens, Larry, when you fuck a stranger in the ass? Get your hand out of my pocket!
Her cat was named Vagina.
Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. A pleasant good afternoon. Welcome, one and all, to a special matinee edition of the New Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dibular.
Hello.
Glad you could all be here to pregame with us on the biggest party night of the year, Thanksgiving Eve. That's right. That's why we are on early. We wouldn't want to interfere with your plans later on this evening. So thank you guys all for being here. This is not our regular time slot, though, so please do hit that like button to remind people that we're here. Let's work that algorithm on a special timed Thanksgiving Eve program. It's great to be here with you all.
In New York, we call this Balloon Night because it is almost as popular as the parade itself for people to go watch the inflating of the balloons.
That's right.
Which takes place right around the Museum of Natural History. I used to work that gig. I have no idea why. It's so stupid. There are these gigs as a tour guide where people will pay you to do things where you're like, you don't need to pay a tour guide for that. Right. There is no reason to pay me. I used to, every year, I would get paid to usher people around the balloon. There's nothing for me to do other than to bring you into the guideposts,
right,
and stand there with you.
But you like their own personal crowd control guy, basically. Yeah. Is what.
Well, it's those are the gigs where you really feel like a prostitute because you feel like you feel like a high-end escort,
right?
Like you're being paid for your charm and your wit. You're like a geisha,
right?
Yeah, just to be witty and charming and entertain them while they're standing in line.
Yeah, I always felt objectified as a tour guide when, like, I would find out, like, as, like, sometimes when I got into the management side of it, like, a customer would every once in a while request, can we have a funny tour guide? Can you put us on with a funny tour guide? Like, so funny. Are you gonna dance for you?
What's your sense of humor?
Yeah, right. What's your sense of humor? Do you like dry and deadpan or baughty, and rude? Let's really craft this experience that specifically to your taste.
Do you want them with
$35, right?
With the oversized shoes or without the oversized shoes? What do you want?
Yeah, right, exactly. We have some stuff to get to, folks. First, though, as many of you may have noticed, we have crossed the 20,000 subscriber mark here on YouTube. So thank you all very much for getting us across that milestone line. That's really awesome. We also crossed the 4,000 subscriber mark. Beautiful. On Rumble, we did those both in the same day. So thank you guys all very much for your support. We remember back when we first started this show on Facebook, literally if we had more than 20 people watching us at a time, that was considered a high pressure show. That was like a big crowd. And I remember sometimes after the show was over, because we'd only do like an hour and 20 minutes back then. It was just a hobby back then, really. And we would be like, yeah, we had like 27 people tonight. That was pretty good. Yeah. And then we would add, and they stayed the whole time.
Yeah.
We held them. Not only did they watch, they stayed. They stayed for the full hour. We're used to, we would have some jumps. We'd get up to like 40, and then 10 minutes later, everybody was bored. We're back down to 16, so thank you guys very much for helping us get there, both on YouTube and on Rumble. Love you all.
Well, every now and then, some people will go back through our back catalog, and so something will come up in the comments because, we have a separate screen as creators for the comments, and it'll be a comment on an old video. And every now and then I'll take a look at the video out of curiosity and it'll have like 32 views.
Oh, yeah.
And it was 31 until that person decided to look at the back catalog. So, that is amazing. I thought as we started to get momentum, we'd hit that eventually, but this is way ahead of where I thought we would hit that based on how we were growing. So thank you all very, very much. And we look forward to doing many, many more shows. I was just talking to Keaton beforehand. I know most of you come here for the Marvel reviews, but he's not into it, so we're going to split off and do a separate channel for that, maybe.
Yeah, Russell's thinking about forming a super group of online, indie left commentators to do like a leftist mafia version of a superhero sci-fi spinoff.
Yeah, because there are other nerds in this space who are not just politics nerds, who are also pop culture nerds. But I drew the millennial who's not into Marvel and not into technology.
Well, how into technology are you?
What, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not. I'm just saying you're not either.
Oh, I'm not into either. So, okay, I understand what you're saying.
He's not into pop culture. He's not into technology. If you notice, that's why our tech goes sideways, because there's just nobody running the ship.
My wife.
We got Jake.
Now we have Jake. Thankfully. Yes, indeed.
That's it.
Yeah, my wife is going to see the new Hunger Games movie tonight with a friend. I didn't even know there was a new Hunger Games movie. That's how in the dark I am. I had no idea it was even out. So yeah, that's where I'm coming from. There's another bit of news that we do want to break here. Not that we're breaking it. This came out late last night, but this is something that we do want to acknowledge. Israel and Hamas reached deal to release 50 hostages and pause fighting for 4 days in Gaza. The deal will also see 150 Palestinians released from Israeli jails. It comes after weeks of closely guarded negotiations in Qatar, which acted as a broker along with the U.S. and Egypt. And I'm just going to read first paragraph. Israel and Hamas have agreed to a breakthrough deal to release 50 women and children who were kidnapped and held in Gaza, a potential landmark deal that will also involve a 4-day pause in fighting, the delivery of hundreds of aid trucks, not AIDS trucks, that would be bad, the delivery of hundreds of aid trucks.
And I thought you said no content we're going to have to cut later today.
Well, that's, yeah. There's something that's an honest mistake, number one. Number two, you're allowed
the AI
to say
doesn't
AIDS.
know that.
You're allowed to say AIDS. This is not 1983. And the release of 150 Palestinian women and children held in Israeli jails. So, couple things. Number one, this works out nicely for us because we are off on Friday, day after Thanksgiving. We are off. The channel is dark that day, so we will not see you guys again until Sunday, which is 4 days from now. So it works out conveniently that we won't miss any of the war. The war will stop for 4 days, and then by the time we're back, the war will be back on. That's really wonderful. And the other thing that's really wonderful about this is that this will expose all of the cowards like Bernie Sanders who are calling for not a ceasefire but a pause. It will expose them for the two-faced liars that they are, because what we're going to see is a 4-day pause, and then we're going to be back to the horror show. That's why the humanitarian pause was always bullshit. Oh, let's take a break from the bombing. We'll let some trucks in with water bottles, and then we'll bomb them again. So, obviously, it's good that some of the hostages are being freed on both sides, and it's good that there will be, 4 fewer days of fighting means what? 700, 800 people at this rate won't be killed over the next 4 days? Progress of a kind. But the bloodshed will continue on Sunday in time for our 7 p.m. broadcast. What a world.
Well, and this was actually a test we were running. We have long suspected that we're being watched by the Mossad, and we said, look, let's announce 4 days off and see what they do.
Right.
And here you go. So now we know they're kind of building the war around our programming schedule.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What a world we live in.
They are on a horrific note. So some of you may have seen Juliana Margulies wrote a fucking batshit crazy passive-aggressive op-ed to her poor friends who are avoiding her because they don't want to deal with her nutty Zionist shit. That's my read into it. Arguing how they have to come help and support them because her and all of her Jewish friends are afraid they're going to come for them because the silence has been so frightening. It's reminding them of being in the Nazi era. It's just crazy. When I started writing the article, I mentioned that 12,000 Palestinians had been killed. And by the time I finished it, I had to update it to 14.
Yeah.
And that was in a matter of 3 days writing it.
No, it's absolutely horrible. It's absolutely horrible. That's why, all this talk. So now, what's the next play? What does Bernie Sanders say now? What does Elizabeth Warren say now? What does Ro Khanna say now? Okay, they got their pause. It's not a humanitarian pause. It's a pause in exchange for hostages. But okay, you got your pause. Once the pause is over and we go back to the horror, what's next? Now are you going to call for a ceasefire? Because now that card has already been taken out of the deck. We already had the pause. It's not going to help anything in the long run.
They're going to try to ride that to show that they did something, that they've been effective. They're going to ride that as long as they can, which I think is not going to be very long because everyone outside of Morning Joe is rejecting these narratives. Right. Even MSNBC, Morning Joe aside, is just not buying this shit. Did you ever imagine you would see CNN pushing back on Israeli claims about a Hamas headquarters in the hospital?
Right.
I mean, they're not going to be able to sustain it, but I think that's what they'll try to do. Through intense negotiation and pressure we put on the Israelis, they're going to make it look like they're really working hard to stop this.
Yeah, indeed. All right, folks, we got a lot to cover today because we are going to be off for 4 days. So let's get right into it. Story number one. This broke in the USA Today via NBC News polling. Joe Biden falls behind Donald Trump with young voters, a key group, ahead of 2024, poll says. President Joe Biden is trailing former President Donald Trump in a hypothetical general election matchup among young voters, an NBC News poll released Sunday found. Among voters aged 18 to 34, Biden saw 42% support. That's compared to Trump, who led him with 46% support. The poll is an early warning for Biden's campaign ahead of the 2024 presidential election that young voters could be peeling away from him. They were a key voting bloc essential to Biden's victory in the 2020 election. An exit poll from NBC News in 2020 found Biden won voters 18 to 29 by more than 20 points. So you're looking at almost a 30-point swing amongst young voters who are the most reliably Democratic voters in the entire country. Trump's lead among this group, however, was within the subgroup's margin of error in the poll at plus or minus 6.2 percentage points. That's irrelevant because even if they're tied, that's a disaster for Joe Biden. Right. In a hypothetical general election matchup from NBC News with voters of all ages, Biden trailed Trump by a small margin of 2 percentage points. Trump led with 46, while Biden fell behind at 44. That doesn't seem all that significant on its own since Trump has been ahead in the average of polls recently, but this is the first NBC News poll in which Trump has led. So it's the first poll done by this outfit that has had Trump in the lead nationwide amongst every cohort. Biden, or amongst the aggregate of all cohorts, I should say. Biden also saw one of his lowest approval ratings ever since taking the presidency at 40%, according to the poll. 57% of voters say they disapprove of his presidency. As the Israel-Hamas war continues, 62% of the poll's respondents, including 30% of Democrats, disapproved of Biden's handling of foreign policy in general. With regard to the Israel-Hamas war, 56% of voters said they disapprove of Biden's handling of the war. The poll found that Democrats are split over the war, with a slim majority of them, 51%, say they believe Israel's military response to Hamas has gone too far, compared to 27% who said Israel's response is justified, margin of error plus or minus 3.1. So once again, unprecedented collapse in support for Joe Biden. We saw it a couple weeks ago where Arab voters jumped ship. 83% of Arab voters, 83% say they're not voting for Joe Biden. We've seen Latinos turn on Joe Biden to the point where that's a dead heat. We've seen black voters turn on Joe Biden to the point where now over 20% say they're voting Trump, not just not voting at all, but voting Trump. And now the latest cohort to peel off, which was predictable if you followed the sentiments after October 7th and the Israel war, young voters. So the bottom is just really, it has fallen out. It has fallen out. These two coalitions, Arab voters and young voters, these were the two coalitions that you can't afford to have every coalition peel off. He was already going into 2024 facing enough headwinds, and this is just the latest.
I mean, at this point, there are rumors that they're going to take some of the money that has been collectively stolen by the Biden family and use it to pay off everyone's student debt. So I'm not sure if that's going to come through. They're looking into the campaign finance implications, whether that violates buying votes if he does that. This has parallels to what we're going to cover later with Argentina, actually, because a big part of the coalition that put Bumblebee Man from The Simpsons in office there were young voters. Yep. Oh, hang on.
It went. Hit it again.
You got it.
I got
it. What did you get?
I heard the song.
I got Can You Dig It?
Your thing is...
There's something wrong. It's
fucking
Fakakta.
Maybe the Mossad is on to you.
Yeah.
I would headbang for you, but I've been getting nosebleeds lately because you know what I did? A couple days ago, I was going to open a bag of dishwasher pods, the dishwasher pods that you put in the dishwasher. I went to open it, but my hands were wet from hand washing some of the dishes. And so I couldn't grip the bag. And so I opened it with my mouth.
And it went up your nose?
Yeah, the fumes from the pods went right into my nose and just burned the hell out of the inside of my nose. Like, it was awful. And then, like, a few hours later, I got a nosebleed. So I think my membranes are irritated. See, this is how you know this is a Jewish show. My membranes are irritated, and I've been getting nosebleeds. So I don't want to headbang because I don't want to have a nosebleed on the show. I don't want to have to do the show like this. You know, that would be embarrassing.
Well, that's also from you used to be a big cokehead, right? I understand that never completely heals.
Hey, listen, my story is dishwasher pods.
Yeah. That's his cover story. Would you fall off the wagon again? That's why I'm going up there for Thanksgiving. His wife asked me, let's go. So I can't be watching him go into the bathroom every 5 minutes. I need somebody to keep an eye out, make sure he doesn't slip.
Russell is coming up for Thanksgiving tomorrow, so we'll be releasing some Due Dissidents home videos from my kitchen.
We will.
We'll drop those.
Yes. We're Keaton in the background like this.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Exactly.
So yeah, with Biden, it seems very similar because young people, because this guy in Argentina is anti-abortion, most Argentinians don't agree with that. But when your coalition hates you that much, the other guy starts to look like, well, fuck it. Why not? Things are this bad. You know, they can't afford a home. In the end, they're looking at the pre-Biden economy and whether Trump deserves credit for it and whether it was all that great. That's something we can litigate. But the perception is, well, you know what? You could afford a house under Trump. You can't afford a house under Biden. And that is probably a big oversimplification, although I will say this. If Trump had been in office, would he have let Powell raise interest rates to this point, or would he have fired him because he understands where his bread is buttered and what that's going to do to his standing with voters? Right. You know, I think there's a sense that in the end, Trump would not have allowed this to go on. Now, would that create runaway inflation if he didn't do it? I don't know. And in spite of what economists tell you, nobody fucking knows. Nobody really knows. You know, the economics is like the weather. You ask 10 of these guys, they have 10 different opinions. But there's no doubt in my mind that Trump would not have allowed it. He would have fired Powell before he would have allowed him to raise interest rates to that point. So I think there's a perception that, hey, even if I don't agree with Trump on certain cultural things, I'm just not going to vote for Joe Biden. I have somebody here I don't really like on a cultural and foreign policy level anyway, so why not go for one who might make a better economy for me?
Yeah, and also I think there's just really widespread disillusionment with Biden and with the Democratic Party overall. I think a lot of these young people who may have come out and joined some of the bullshit protests against Trump, like the Russiagate protests or the Women's March protests or the science and the climate march. All of a sudden, they cared about science and the environment when Trump was president, right? I think a lot of them realize, hey, those same liberals are not out in the streets with us for the Free Palestine protests. I mean, some of them are, but not nearly in the same numbers. It's a different crowd. You've been to the Palestine protests. You know it's a different crowd. I've been there, too. You don't have those milquetoast shit libs.
It's not
there.
The cowbell people.
Yeah, it's not the cowbell people. It's not to say there aren't some mainstream liberals who are against Israel here. There are. Obviously, polling does show that. And so I'm not saying none of them are there. But it's not the same. It's not the same. The vibe is completely different at these Free Palestine marches from at, say, the Trump arraignment or the Women's March.
I was just going to say, at the Trump arraignment, I mean, the cowbell people aside, just the general liberals who were there. Right. You don't see those people at these Palestine rallies at all.
Right. Exactly. All right. Let's move on to a sort of sub-segment here of this first piece. We have some Rumble Rants and Super Chats coming in. We will get to those all, so thank you very much for sending those. We'll take our first Super Chat break after this next piece here, but this is related to this one. So, new NBC poll showed Trump 46, Biden 44. That is the first of the NBC News polls to show Donald Trump with a lead over Biden nationwide. And so you'd think it's NBC's own poll and it's this breakthrough poll where all of a sudden Trump is ahead. You'd think Morning Joe would be worried. Nope, not at all. Morning Joe says nothing to worry about.
What, me worry?
Yawn. Yawn, yawn. Here's Joe and Mika interviewing.
Weird.
Here's Joe and Mika interviewing Claire McCaskill.
Claire McCaskill, the discussion I'm hearing right now reminds me of the discussion I had with the senior Trump advisor in, what was it, actually, it was in 2020. In 2020. And this senior advisor was telling me and showed me all the numbers. Look, we've got the numbers. Donald Trump's going to get 22% of black voters. He's going to get 40% of Hispanic voters. Nevada is in the books. We've won it already. New Mexico, the numbers that we're driving right now, we're going to win New Mexico. I mean, so... Excuse me.
Who the fuck said he was getting 40% of the black vote?
Well, no, I will answer that question.
I mean that's a total straw man. Who said that?
It's worse than a straw man. He says, "Excuse me while I yawn at these poll results." You're absolutely right. You picked up on this. He's conflating two things. He just said, "I talked to Trump campaign advisors who told me in 2020 we're going to get 22% of the black vote. We're going to win Nevada. We're going to win New Mexico." Well, this new poll is not done amongst Trump advisors. This is a general election poll by your own network. Right. your boss has conducted this poll. So he's comparing what Republican advisors told him 3 years ago to what this new objective poll is saying now. It's a ridiculous comparison.
And they bring on Claire McCaskill, who, I'm sorry, if this woman does not look like the wolf and Hansel and Gretel dressed up as grandma, I don't know who does.
You mean the wolf in Little Red Riding Hood?
In Little Red Riding Hood. She's about to rip off the face.
The witch is Hansel and Gretel, which you said she looks like that as well.
She looks like that. She basically looks like every evil figure from every Germanic folktale you ever heard.
Looks like the owner of every house you're not supposed to walk into in every children's fairy tale.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're making a horror movie with a creepy motel, she's at the desk.
She's at the front desk. Yeah, exactly.
While Democrats, left and right, who, let's just say it, Democrats who have kicked Joe Biden around for decades, who kicked him around when he was vice president of the United States, those same Democrats are now coming. Oh, and by the way, Democrats who said he was toast in 2020 after Iowa and New Hampshire, now they're saying he's toast again. Claire, why should I not be surprised that once again Joe Biden's being underestimated?
Claire, because we like to get our political tips from a woman who needed to be running against a guy who claimed that women could stop pregnancy if they were really raped in order to win.
Right.
We feel that you're the best person to offer political insights. That is how bad your opponent had to be before you could win an election, and you lost the very next one when you had to run against somebody who wasn't a fucking werewolf.
Right.
It's the story of his career. It's what he has encountered pretty much every step of the way. And listen, there's one thing these polls are good for, and that is making sure that nobody in the Biden campaign takes any segment of our vote for granted.
Amen.
There is absolutely a need to do more and do better and cover the ground more thoroughly.
Cover the ground more thoroughly. What might he want to do? Like, she's saying, yeah, he can't take votes for granted. He's got to do better. He's got to cover the ground. What specifically might he want to do?
Voters' houses all over this country. They know what's at stake. And even the young voters, they know what's at stake. They know about Dobbs. They know about our military-style weapons that are slaughtering children sitting in classrooms.
Gun control.
They know that they're banning books and trying to look down their nose at Americans who are gay and married in this country. And they're not going to stand for that.
Okay, so first she says Joe Biden has to do better. He has to go to black people and young people who already know that the Republicans are anti-choice, already know the Republicans are anti-gun control, already know the Republicans are anti-gay. So what does he have to do then? Because so far you haven't said a single thing that he has to do. You're just saying, hey, people are already for Biden over Trump. Well, no, they're fucking not. That's what the poll says. That's why you're on for this segment, right? So notice she has not given any advice to Joe Biden as far as what he can actually do. She's just reminding people of what they already know, supposedly.
Well, she's distracted. They're shooting this in the kitchen because she has to keep an eye on Hansel and Gretel in the oven.
They know that the Republican Party thinks climate change is a hoax.
Oh, climate change, too,
so it's
right.
just a matter of making sure the campaign prioritizes the communication of those communities. And I think they've got that. And I think what's hard about it, though, Joe, I think we have to admit, we see Donald Trump is so completely unacceptable.
Right.
A mentally deranged, narcissistic, dangerous, horrible man that only knows selfishness. The idea that anybody would be voting for him freaks all of us out.
Selfish, old, horrible, deranged, narcissistic. I mean, these are terms I would use to describe Joe Biden as well. So would most people. That's why he's losing. So far, she has not described a single thing he could do. She hasn't talked about Israel, Gaza, which, as you can see, I mean, if you know how to read a poll, you know that's why young people have jumped ship over that issue. Right. Hasn't mentioned that whatsoever. Hasn't mentioned the economy whatsoever. Just falls back on guns, abortion, gay marriage. We think climate change is real and they don't, which is a line they've been saying literally my entire life. That's how they sort of view this race now. Well, it's just a matter of reminding people, hey, Donald Trump is so horrible, you can't possibly vote for him. I mean, that's a typical MSNBC segment, except for the fact, if I could just make this one very quick point, that you would think liberals and Democrats who watch MSNBC want to win. And most Democratic voters say they'll vote for Biden in the primary over Dean Phillips and Marianne. But most Democratic voters, which means most MSNBC viewers, don't want Biden to run. So you would think now that some noise has been, being made about replacing him, you'd think MSNBC might want to jump on that bandwagon. It'd be good for ratings and probably good for the party overall. But no, at least not on the morning show. They are coping hard, morning cope, as I'll call this segment. They're coping hard, trying to convince their viewers, no, we have to stick with Joe Biden, and just remind people why they have to vote for Joe Biden, because of Donald Trump.
Well, if you read between the lines here, I think what's going on is because there was a moment there, perhaps not with Morning Joe, they are the ultimate fucking access journalists in the media, bar none. But in general, you did start to see a push from the media to get Biden to gracefully bow out. And that chatter seems to have stopped. My read on that, like Axelrod got a lot of pushback recently. Right. So I interpret that as the word came down from the White House. This crazy bastard is just not going to step down. And once that became clear, well, now they have to go full-on propaganda mode for Joe Biden. If they can't get him out, then they have to support him, right? So now they're just going to do this. And in the end, who is this for? It's for the audience of people watching Claire McCaskill be doing commentary now, more or less full-time. It gives you a different insight into what these people are doing, because very often, you have to give a take. You have to give a compelling take, right? That's the gig. I mean, nobody's going to watch to see you do, 1975 newscast, right? Right. Yes, and so that's the way it is today, right? Yes, so you have to be. This is opinionating too. I mean, it's not just newscasting, but for me, as somebody who never gives a take I don't believe in, it's really fascinating to watch these scumbags who just do this for a paycheck, because they don't believe most of what they say. I mean, they might in the end believe in the ends that they're serving. And I think they generally do, because these are the ends that serve their class. It serves their self-interest. But does Claire McCaskill politically believe the shit she's saying? No, that's a bunch of talking points that are just very easy with the audience that they have. All you have to do, just check the boxes. Say mean shit about Trump. Right. Talk about how we're better on all these issues. And this is core to the way Democrats always spin their failures. People are dumb, and we're not messaging to them properly. They love that one, right? The day after Hillary lost, it was, aside from Russia, it being Russia's fault, everywhere. Oh, it's the marketing. It's the Democrats just don't understand how to talk to people. They will never do the kind of self-reflection that they would need to do to fix that problem, because it would require that they turn the party into a meaningfully left party, which has not been for decades.
Exactly. Let's take some super chats before we continue on. Sean and Billy, I like this one. Ric Flair drip go Jew on a bitch. I like that one. That's a good one. Clever. Instead of woo, went with Jew with the J-O-O. I like that. That was very good. Abiding 71. Thanks for the 99 cents. Appreciate you, my friend. Spade 2187. Thanks for the 4.99. Hey, fellas. Question. I always been curious how you guys met. Keep up the great work. We met dogpiling a Hillary-supporting friend of ours on Facebook. That's literally how we met. It was during the 2016 campaign, during the primaries, a mutual friend of ours, who was a very nice guy, but he was, a big-time Hillary guy, a big, anti-Bernie guy. And every time he would make an idiotic post, one of us would comment, and then the other one would like that person's comments. And so we got to know each other that way. And then I noticed Russell's shit posts were very well written. So back when we had the blog, I invited Russell to contribute blogs to the website because I could tell he was a good writer just from his shit posting. And then he came on the podcast, the audio show, to talk about the blogs, and we realized we had something. So that's how we met.
On November 13th, Russell's wife asked him to leave the residence, asking that he never return.
Pickled Pirate, thank you for the $10. Wanted pizza today, but $25 for one large is insanity. Yeah,
really?
Where do you live? What the fuck is going on out there?
I can get a pizza cheaper than that, man.
Yeah, I'm thawing chicken instead and giving you some cash. Well, thank you. That's nice.
Thank you. That's
Who
nice
can
of
afford
you.
pizza at that price? Thanks, Biden. I would like to know where you live.
No, you know what? Don't laugh. I mean, a lot of what you're seeing in those numbers that we just went over go back to shit like that, man. I went to the supermarket yesterday. What? I got some milk. I got some bananas. I got some nuts, some coffee. It was like $67 fucking dollars, man.
Yeah, no, it's insane. The groceries are just out of control. They're still out of control.
They never came back down.
Never came back down. Nope. Sage and Fool, thanks for the $5. Do you recall what happened in Israel last time the world was distracted? Well, they had,
the Romans? You mean the Romans?
You're talking about way back. All right, maybe you're talking about way back. But back in 2021, there was a horrible outburst here. So thank you, Sage and Fool. All right, Dan Richmond here. Now that we're on this topic, thank you for the $20. That's very kind of you. Special request: each of you do an impression of an average PMC Dem voter when their party literally installs a nominee, Michelle Obama or Newsom, at the convention without them having received a single vote during the primary. I always wanted it to be Michelle. I didn't want to say anything because we had to support our incumbent. But, I was always crossing my fingers hoping it would be Michelle. That's what they'd say.
Well, you know what? It's been a long time coming, but with the gay slur there, guess what? John to Emily just got themselves banned.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She said that Russell Dobular is gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But you just crossed the line. Bye. I mean, that's very strange for a trans person to use that as a slur.
Use it as an insult. Didn't slur you, but use it as an insult.
Use it as an insult. Like, why would you? It doesn't even make any sense. But I'm sure the chat will be happier for it. So, yeah, my impersonation on that. Gavin has it all. He has it all. He reminds me of a Bill Clinton, but tan, with a tan.
Yo, wasn't Gavin Newsom supposed to debate Ron DeSantis in November? Did
yeah,
that ever happen?
Yeah. What happened?
They said that was on. That was supposed to be like early November, and it never happened. So yeah, I would like to know what happened with that. I just like this one. Note to self: don't sniff pots. Yeah, bad for the membranes. Thank you, sir. Or ma'am. I don't know who you are. George 13 over on Rumble. Thanks for the $5. Great show yesterday, guys. Yeah, we had a Patreon show yesterday. It was a lot of fun. You guys should sign up at Patreon. We'll plug that more formally later. Even though you didn't ask Jimmy to come play Tel Aviv, I'm still sold on you two Jews. You're covering vital issues with compassion, thoughtful insight, and wit. Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you. I think Jimmy would need, as would we, a little bit higher of a personal security budget before he books any gigs in Israel. We would need the same thing. So maybe a little down the line.
You know, I talk about being worried about ending up on the wrong end of a Chinese prison. If I go to China, forget about fucking Israel.
Oh, yeah. No, Israel.
Fuck it. I'll never get out of there.
They'd have a time with you. All right, Russell, you're up.
All right.
Russell's quarterbacking some segments to practice for the Jimmy Dore hosting gig, folks. By the way, over 1,000 in YouTube chat. Beautiful. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button over on Rumble, 389 strong. Hit that follow button. Russell, can you access that exhibit yourself? You seem to have been able to before the show.
All right. So you know this is one of mine. Woo! Wanted to cover this while it's still hot. All right. So the Marvels has broken a lot of records, but not the kinds of records that Disney was hoping it would break. The Marvels collapses at box office with record-breaking second weekend drop that's worse than Morbius. I know a lot of you are probably asking what the hell was Morbius. Exactly. The new Marvel Cinematic Universe outing, The Marvels, has the worst weekend 2 drop for any comic book movie, including the notorious Morbius. With the glut of new offerings, ticket sales for Disney's superhero sequel, The Marvels, cratered by 78% to land another ignominious record, the biggest second weekend drop by far in the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Before this weekend, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania withstood the largest decline of the franchise with 69.9%. After notching the worst start in the entire MCU, the Marvels tied for third place with $10.2 million from 4,030 theaters. That's like 1.5 people per theater. That's me. That's my editorial note. Bringing its domestic tally to $65 million. The $220 million plus budgeted tentpole is the rare Marvel movie to underperform at the box office. And it's getting less rare these days. And part of the problem is that it's bearing the brunt of the audience's fatigue toward the sprawling franchise. But at this rate, it might not even match the opening weekend of its predecessor, 2019's Captain Marvel, $153 million, by the end of its theatrical run. It's shaping up to be the first Marvel movie to fall short of $100 million at the box office. So that is a disaster. Now, of course, there are a lot of takes on this, and I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of schadenfreude going on from many corners, but the analysis that's really making the rounds, and one that I personally agree with, and I'll get into that. We're doing it Jimmy Dore style. I'm going to save my take for the end. All right. So Chris Gore, if you don't know him, he's a film critic. He has a great channel, Film Threat. Check it out if you can. Turning Marvel and Star Wars into girl brands will prove to be one of the costliest decisions in entertainment history. Yes, and we will get into that. So somebody who decided they need to weigh in on this as the most annoying shitlib this side of George Takei is the master of horror, Stephen King, who has some horrible takes very often, usually about Donald Trump. He's a notorious Trump derangement syndrome sufferer, but in this case, he decided to wade into the culture wars. I don't go to MCU movies, don't care for them, but I find this barely masked gloating over the low box office for the Marvels very unpleasant. Why gloat over failure? To which Sargon of Akkad, who's a commentator in this space, because the people who make these movies hate us, Stephen. So I am going to give you, because the Master of Horror was not finished there, I am going to give you a little screen share. All right, so some of the rejection of the Marvels may be adolescent fanboy hate. You know, yuck girls. So Nerdrotic said, did you watch the Marvels? Maybe seeing a superhero film for teenage girls, a market that don't really go to see feature films and don't care about superheroes unless they're played by hot guys, was a bad strategy. I always laugh at this. They tried to defend the new Star Wars movies too, like a lot of Star Wars fans secretly hated Leia, as if they didn't also love Sigourney in Alien. All right, so you get the idea. And also, somebody pointed out here, there's kind of an inherent contradiction here. Since you don't go to MCU movies and don't care for them, that means you rejected the Marvels, right? Does that mean you hate women? So why did the Marvels fail? This is a source of a lot of Sturm und Drang. Even people who don't normally get into this space, like Matt Walsh, offer to take on this.
I've been wrestling with that myself.
He made me do this segment. All right, so I'm gonna tie this to what I'm reading right now. I am reading this, The Case Against the Sexual Revolution, which basically argues something that I have thought for a very long time in many different contexts, that a lot of feminism is sexist because it tends to adopt the idea often, not always, often, that in order to be powerful, women have to adopt the tastes and behaviors that are typically male, that we have typically associated with men. And in that effort, I agree with Chris Gore's take here. Disney was a girl brand, and the business logic of buying Star Wars and buying Marvel was to add boy brands to their girl brand profile. But instead of leaving well enough alone, they decided, theoretically, in order to boost their ESG score, get more investment from Vanguard and BlackRock, they decided to basically attack the core male fan base for these products and orient them towards women. The problem is, A, what's wrong with women having their own tastes? You know, a lot of people will point to Barbie and say, see, go woke, go broke is bullshit. I mean, it depends on how you understand it. They made a movie about Barbie, which is very much a girl brand, whose framing and tone was very much aimed at a female audience. Why wouldn't that succeed? Of course it would succeed. What if you handed over Barbie to Francis Ford Coppola, and you had a lot of guys promoting Barbie, talking about how they don't need menopausal white women telling them whether the movie is good or not? How would the fan base of Barbie react to that turn of events? That's basically what Disney did with this. For the most part, girls and women do not like these kinds of power fantasies. It's just not what they're into. It's more of a guy thing. Ooh, Hulk smash. Ooh, look how he picked up that tank and threw it, right? That's not really a girl thing. And if you really want to see that demonstrated, with everything that Marvel did to basically try to swap one fan base for another so that they could have their cake and eat it too, huge box office, high ESG scores, the majority of people who actually went to see Marvel's opening weekend, men, 65% of the audience was male, because that's the audience for superhero movies, even if you make it a cast of all women. So between this, the fact that not only Nelson Peltz, but another group has invested huge amounts of money in buying up Disney shares and plan to make a run at a hostile takeover, probably this is the end of this iteration of Disney. Like, they just can't keep losing hundreds of millions of dollars trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. So that's my take.
Well, the other thing that you mentioned, too, was that, you know, now that the culture wars are, I won't say winding down, but now that, you know, a lot of the excesses of what we will call the neo-woke or the pseudo-woke culture wars have been rejected, now you're seeing more and more desperation on the part of a lot of these right-wing content creators, which I think is part of the reason why this story exploded, to get upset about something. I remember watching, I would have done this for the show if I thought that, you know, if I didn't think that genocide in Gaza was more important. But
we both did. We both did. We were unanimous on that.
Riley Gaines was on a Fox News show, and they were talking about there's a gay nutcracker at Target now, like a nutcracker with a gay pride flag, and then a black disabled Santa. And she was like, I think we can all agree that black disabled Santa is taking it too far. Well, what do you mean taking it too far? Taking Santa Claus? Like, what is the it there? Is the it Santa Claus? Yeah. Santa Claus is a fantastical character. The right. Disabled? And what is it? But what is it? The imaginary line that you feel certain things have to cross to give you an opportunity to go on Fox News and like rile people up. Like, what is the grievance here? But as time goes on, you're going to start seeing those grievances become more and more ridiculous. Just as social justice victories beget overreach, right? So do I won't say counter social justice victories, but anti-woke victories beget overreach, because this all becomes a racket at a certain point. At a certain point, there is money to be made and eyeballs to be put on you for saying something in the direction that you've already gotten going in.
Well, that's what I said as soon as I started to see this year's outrage at Christmas commercials, and they couldn't come up with anything really
with any real ones, right?
Right, because in the end they won. Like, I do think Marvel's is kind of the end of this. Like, you'll see a couple of projects that were already in the pipeline that are obnoxiously hostile to the fans of these fantasy franchises come out. I always thought this was a problem. I don't know if you ever really watched Star Trek. When they released Voyager, it was the first female captain, and this was supposed to be really groundbreaking. And I thought it was an insult to women, because, okay, so in order to portray a woman as being in charge, she has to read as like this sexless schoolmarm who would correct your grammar. Like, she can't be like, she has to be this very masculine, yes, Mr. Chakotay, full speed ahead,
Well, that's how a lot of women are depicted, not just in pop culture, but in political life as well. That was the excuse everybody made. Oh, Hillary Clinton's a warmonger. Well, she has to be. She's a woman, right? If she's not a warmonger, people won't take her seriously. Basically, women have to mimic the worst characteristics of men in order to be taken seriously as women in charge.
Exactly.
Right? Like, what kind of feminism is that? That doesn't seem...
Exactly. And in pop culture, there are great examples of women who are not neutered, who are great action heroes and are able to function as women. It was mentioned right in there. Sigourney Weaver in the Aliens franchise, Sarah Michelle Gellar in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, who I promise you, to a person, every geek who hated the Marvels loves Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's not about hating women. It's about doing good stories, good storytelling, and not doing products that are very women's studies 101, let's attack the fan base, right? Like, what do you expect if you attack the fan base? And in the end, look, women and men are not the same. They don't have the same taste. Give the people what they want. Even as far as they went, I mean, if that's not the final word on it, what is? As far as they have gone to alienate men from this franchise, most of the people who went to see even the Marvels were male. You still could not get women to go see this.
All right, perfect. Well, look at that. That's a good test run. Russell, by the way, for those who missed Sunday's show, is going to be guest hosting the Jimmy Dore Show as a sit-in host in Los Angeles from January 8th to the 15th. And look at that. We brought that in at 10 minutes. That's a pro segment right there.
Yes, Eric. Xena, the warrior princess. Yeah, that's another one.
All right, we brought that in at 11 minutes. 11 minutes.
Well, you could just cut that.
No, I know. I'll cut. I'm just kidding. Hey, Jake, can we hit the Patreon scroll, please? Patreon.com/Do Dissidents is where you can go to be part of shows like we did yesterday. We did a great show for the patrons yesterday at 2 p.m. Patreon members are the backbone of this show. They get access to our call-in Q&As after every Sunday night show. They also get their name up in lights here on the screen, as well as access to 2 exclusive supporter-only live streams per month. So if you join for $5, that's about as good a deal as you could find anywhere. And it really helps us keep the show going. It helps us censor-proof the operation. It gives us a base of support to know we can continue this show no matter what. And we are getting very, very close now, folks. We are right in the neighborhood of 460 paid members right now. We might even be over that right now. But when we get to 500 paid members, we can afford to add a Thursday morning stream. That'll be a Rumble exclusive 60-minute stream from 9 to 10 a.m. And we are really looking forward to adding that. So you can help get us that fourth show by going to patreon.com/DoDissidents or DoDissidents.substack.com and become a paid member. You can also go to DoDissidents.locals.com. If you're on Rumble right now, we have 407 strong in the Rumble chat. The Locals prompt is right underneath the screen. So go and hit us up on Locals if you can as well. I'm going to put up a chat here from Chow Kathy. Thank you for the $10 over on Rumble. Adding as a paid account starting first of the year. Well, thank you, Kathy. What's the best for getting all content? Doesn't matter. Locals, Patreon. No, the perks are the same. Either one. So that's up to you. Dealer's choice. Dealer's choice. The perks are the same across all of those platforms. But thank you, Kathy, and we look forward to seeing you as a paid member in just about a month, right? Or, man, not much 2023 left. Things are heating up.
No, there's not. So we're going to have to, I was thinking about that. We got to do our predictions roundup. And this will be the first year that we can, because we did it the first time last year, see how our predictions held up. I can't remember what yours were last year.
One of mine was a yellow wave. I said there was going to be a rise in libertarianism this year. And our next segment, somewhat confirms that to an extent. Happy Thanksgiving from Yasim Miller. Thank you, Yasim. That's a cute dog. I love that picture. In Europe, Il Grande Black was popular in my childhood, an Italian Western comic book. Just check it out. I don't think Americans know about it. Translated in many languages. Well, Russell's a comic book guy, so beautiful. There's something to add to your list there.
How does that translate? The large what? I don't know what a black is.
I would have put it back up, but I just took it off.
So that's Italian.
Sean Maluli, thank you for the $5. Keaton with his cousin Kyle from South Park impersonation in the dishwasher pod store. Yeah, my membranes are swollen. My membranes are irritated. Thank you, Sean. Cool Blue 71, thanks for the $4.99. With exception in 2000, split results, Bush v. Gore, Nevada and New Mexico have carried the same since New Mexico joined the Union and first voted in 1912. That's an interesting bit of trivia there. Thank you for that. Yes, I remember Bush won Nevada. Bush won New Mexico the second time, I think. Right? Yeah, because, yes, that's right. And that jives with what you're saying. Bush did win New Mexico. Bush got almost 50% of the Latino vote in 2004 because he ran, a very social values campaign, the anti-gay marriage campaign.
Right.
Right. And so that's a large reason why. Matt Vollmer, Claire, you need to do better, Senator. Thank you, Matt Vollmer.
See, you don't get these things.
No. But I figured it was
that's a reference to the Winter Soldier, Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show.
Yeah, not even close.
It was this terrible, let's just do politicking with this show and throw out subtext. So you have the Black Captain America say, "You need to do better, Senator."
Right. Yeah, it's funny. The last Marvel, maybe this is the last one I've seen, but I think I don't know if I've seen one since the first Avengers, the 2012 Avengers. Because back then,
are you serious?
Well, wow. I actually got a gig writing a movie review blog back then. It was from some.
I remember that.
It was some.
Oh
startup
no! Well, I
company.
don't remember that.
No,
you were writing for Screen Rant at one point.
Yeah, I wrote for Screen Rant for a while too, but this was an independent blog startup. They went broke very quickly, so that gig didn't last long.
That's how that tends to go.
Yeah, but I saw it for that. SB, thanks for the $5. Kind of positive news. Andrew Tate on Piers Morgan show and Candace Owens went against the right on Palestine. Owens had Dr. Finkelstein on her show, wasn't hostile. Yeah, I saw some parts of that. I didn't see the whole thing, but I did see some parts of the Candace Owens. I haven't seen the Andrew Tate thing, but that's interesting. All right, we will keep reading a few more of these, and we got plenty more show, folks, so please hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and the follow button. Big fan, says Jack Mack, but it was kind of surreal to see you guys smear Sagar and accuse the guy of not caring about genocide. It seemed like he didn't care.
Yeah.
He said, I don't know why you're so spun up about this. That's his words, not mine.
If that's some kind of a subculture that expresses caring by pretending the opposite, let us know. But in most civilizations that I'm aware of, when you say, I don't know why people care about this, you're indicating that you don't care about it either.
Right, yeah. I don't see why people are getting all spun up about this. Seems kind of crazy to me. Yeah, I mean, he seemed pretty apathetic to me. I don't think we were out of line there. And it surprised us, honestly, because we haven't bashed Saagar.
No.
Not at all.
No, we've been a lot nicer to him than to her.
Okay, well, Jack has a follow-up. It was obvious that Saagar was saying Democratic voters don't like the way Biden is handling Gaza. When given the chance to vote for Biden against Trump, they'd probably still vote Biden. No, he started making that point, but then he went on to say, he says, it just seems crazy to me, you're not Palestinian. He said, you're not Palestinian. In Iraq, I could see getting invested in it because U.S. soldiers were dying.
Right.
Yeah. So
why would you care about something that's happening in another part of the world that your country isn't directly sending human bodies to?
Yeah,
that was his argument. How are we supposed to react to that?
Yeah, I think our interpretation of that was very fair. All right, we'll do one more here. Yeah, see, here we go. This is what we were talking about offline. I need Russell, Kit, and Nico to start that sci-fi nerdy show. Listening to y'all talk about everything through that lens was so good. Beautiful.
Yeah, so Nico, say in the chat, but say it soon because I shut it off once we go into segments. Yeah, Nico, I've heard this, that he's a geek, that he's a nerd, that you could do a show like this with. Is this true?
Yeah, let us know. Let us know. That would be a fun side project for you guys. All right. Let's
and then I can stop torturing my long-suffering partner with these segments.
All right, let's go to this one. This is an interesting one. This is a really interesting one. One of the most interesting men in the world has been elected president of Argentina. Javier Milei, Argentina's far-right outsider, wins presidential election. From the BBC, Argentines have elected far-right outsider Javier Milei, age 53, as their new president. With almost all votes counted, Mr. Milei had won close to... All right, go ahead, take it down. I need a clean thing of this for the clip. All right, reset. With almost all the votes counted, Mr. Milei had won close to 56% in the decisive runoff, ahead of his left-wing rival, Sergio Massa, with 44%. The radical newcomer's victory has been described as a political earthquake. It has been welcomed by like-minded politicians such as U.S. ex-President Donald Trump, who said Mr. Milei would make Argentina great again. Brazil's former leader, Jair Bolsonaro, said that hope would shine again in South America. Sometimes dubbed El Loco, the madman, by his critics, we'll see why, Mr. Milei has promised drastic changes, which include ditching the local currency, the peso, for the U.S. dollar, and blowing up the central bank in order to prevent it from printing more money, which he argues is driving inflation. He has also proposed
that from the Joker.
Yeah, exactly. He has also proposed cutting welfare payments and slashing bureaucracy by closing the ministries of culture, women, health, and education, among others. In a round of media interviews following his election win, he said he would privatize Argentina's state energy company, YPF, and the country's public broadcasters. Everything that can be put into the hands of the private sector will be in the hands of the private sector, he said. However, Mr. Milei added that before YPF could be privatized, it would have to be rebuilt. He did not say how long that process could take. The president-elect also announced that public works would be cut down to zero and that those already in progress would be put out to tender so that there would be no more state spending. On social issues, he wants to loosen gun laws, abolish abortion, which was legalized as recently as 2020, and allow the sale and purchase of human organs. Well, that's a libertarian who means what he says. I'll give him that. If I want to trade you a spleen for a kidney, why should the government get involved? That's between us.
My esophagus, my choice.
My esophagus, my choice. Yeah. Mr. Milei's victory comes amid a deep economic crisis, which has seen annual inflation rise to 143% and 40% of Argentines living in poverty. While opinion polls conducted before the election had given Mr. Milei a slight lead over Mr. Massa, the wide margin of his win by more than 11%, according to provisional results, has surprised many. Mr. Massa, who was the economy minister in the outgoing left-wing government, see, that hamstrung him because of the 143% inflation, quickly conceded defeat, saying that obviously the results are not what we had hoped for. Analysts said Mr. Milei's aggressive style and his promise to do away with the political caste, which he blames for the country's ills, appealed to voters who were fed up with Argentina's established parties. This model of decadence has come to an end. There is no turning back, he told his supporters in his victory speech, promising a new era for Argentina. Okay, so in this guy, you have a libertarian, you have a right-wing populist type, but you don't have the sort of isolationist nationalist tendencies. He's pro-Ukraine, he's pro-Israel, he wants to dollarize, not de-dollarize. So, I mean, I won't pretend to be an expert in Argentinian politics, but this seems like kind of the worst of all worlds, right? He seems like pro-war, pro-New World Order, anti-social safety net, anti-environment, pro-organ selling,
pro-organ harvesting,
anti-abortion. Yeah, I mean, it seems like quite the head job that they've saddled themselves with down there. Although we can't be the liberal scolds after the 2016 election, right? We can't play the deplorable card. This is what happens when inflation gets to a point where people feel like they have nothing to lose by turning over the keys to a guy like this.
That's it. The same thing is happening here. Donald Trump is only marginally more popular than Joe Biden is, if you frame it that way. Do you like Donald Trump? You had that even when he got elected in 2016. I can't remember what the exact numbers were, but an incredible number of people who voted for Donald Trump did not like him in exit polls. Same thing. You have all of these young people who voted for this guy said, yeah, I don't like him. I don't agree with him, but what the hell? What do I have to lose? When you put people in a position where they feel like they have nothing to lose, well, sure. They already know what the status quo is. It's not working for them. Let's try the other one. And I think there's a message in this for the left, both in America and in Argentina. If your political project, so-called, doesn't deliver for anybody, eventually they're going to look to the other team for answers and solutions. I think you could have a conservative wave in the making in our own country. If they go and they elect a Republican and the economy gets dramatically better, how do you think Gen Z is going to vote after that?
Right.
Think they're going to be Democrats? I don't think so.
Well, these are challenges that the left faces very often. And, a lot of these challenges are of their own making when they overreach on social issues and sort of cultural issues that alienate, mainstream sort of normie voters. But a lot of it is that money and power tends to coalesce against the left when it does get that taste of power. So, like, if Bernie Sanders were elected president in 2016, what would have happened? Both the Democrats and the Republicans would have teamed up to tank his presidency and delegitimize the left moving forward. Right. Now, this guy is going to have a similar type problem. Even though he's right-wing, he's basically a third-party candidate. He has no allies in the legislative branch, whatever they call it there. So it's going to be very hard for him to implement a lot of the things that he's talking about, but he is going to mobilize as much support along the way, and he is quite good at doing that. He has a certain charisma, if you will, just like Trump, sort of an anti-charisma charisma, very bawdy, loud, vulgar personality, who had obviously a real base. I mean, he won this election in a landslide, 56-44. That's not even close. That's not even close. Lula won by, I think, 5 or 6 points against Bolsonaro, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, this wasn't exactly a tight race.
Right. You're seeing all of these kind of right-wing populists who, in many ways, they've stolen the left's act of being outrageous, of being anti-authoritarian, of calling out the powerful. Right, that's supposed to be our act, and they stole it. And look, that's a popular stance to take. And as you point out, it's easier for them to get away with it from the right because it doesn't really threaten anybody. Especially this guy, he's perfect. He's like, made in a lab. He's pro-war, wants to go on the dollar. Nobody cares who sells their organs. Nobody's going to care about that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. They'll look the other way on a kidney sale here
the
and
organ
there.
Market. On Javier's house of kidneys in the center of Argentina.
Exactly. All right, we'll clip this as a B segment here since that went a little long, but this is good. Let's take a closer look at newly elected Argentine president, or president-elect, if you want to say, Javier Milei. He has a reputation for being quite the character. Here he is singing opera dressed as a superhero alter ego that he created for himself. What is it? Is it General ANCAP? By the way, ANCAP, for those of you who don't know what that stands for, that is anarcho-capitalism. So here he is bringing down the house in style as General ANCAP. And here's a baseball movie reference. I don't do the sci-fi movies. Remember the movie Major League when Sarandon shows up? He's like the Haitian voodoo guy, and he shows up in his all outlandish wardrobe, and the manager says, "Look at this fucking guy." That's what I would say to this. Look at this fucking guy. Well, there he is.
Hey, man. I mean,
singing low, take a bow. Woohoo! Well done. All right. Now this one, believe it or not.
If Cenk is successful with his court challenge, maybe we could get him next.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe he can come up here and run for president despite not being born in the United States. Here's an interview of him telling, TV what he thinks of the left-wing administration and his left-wing opponents. Now, if you thought Donald Trump was pugnacious, wait till you see this. And you got to read the subtitles. I apologize for our audio listeners, but this is something you may want to switch on the YouTubes for. So here we go.
No le podés dar ni un milímetro.
Pero ¿me podés definir zurdo de mierda? Que no
todos los que, digamos, los colectivistas, los que ponen, digamos, o sea, esa idea... A ver,
¿Por qué le pones de mierda, digamos?
Porque son una mierda. O sea, no, pero si pensás distinto te van a aniquilar. Ese es el punto. Es decir, vos al zurdo no le podés dar un milímetro, porque le das un milímetro y lo toma para destrozarte. Es decir, vos no podés negociar con el zurdo. No se negocia. No se negocia con esa mierda, no se negocia porque te van a llevar puesto. Si tienen un golpeador que caga trompadas a la mujer, digamos, si es de ellos, se pone el pañuelito verde y grita todo el tiempo contra el neoliberalismo, lo ocultan. ¿Me entendés? O sea, si de repente hay alguien que acosó a un periodista que acosa a otra periodista, lo ocultan. Es decir, a todos los de ellos lo ocultan. Todas esas aberraciones la ocultan. Ahora, si vos estás del otro lado, a vos te van a estropear. Te van a matar, te van a dar con lo que sea.
Unlike you seem like a real diplomat. You seem like a guy who's it's really easy to have an honest disagreement. Yeah, very measured. This looks like a guy you could really sit down and have a conversation with. The way the libs, pine for George Bush. He was a reasonable Republican who you can have a disagreement with. That's the way this guy sounds.
Les importa arruinarte la vida. ¿Por qué? Porque no pensás como ellos. Y ¿sabes qué es lo bueno de todo esto? Hay algo bueno en todo esto. Porque como el error es humano, como todos nos podemos equivocar, ¿sabes qué nos obligan? Nos obligan a ser mejores. Y como estamos siendo tan mejores que ellos, como los estamos aplastando en la batalla cultural, los estamos pasando de arriba, porque no solo le ganamos en lo productivo, somos superiores moralmente, somos superiores estéticamente, somos mejores en todo. Y les duele. Entonces, como no pueden pelear con las herramientas legítimas, se apalancan en el aparato represivo del Estado, poniendo torres de guita para hacernos mierda. Y aún así no pueden, tuvieron que bajar la nota. ¿Me entendés? Que están perdiendo, están desesperados, están perdiendo la batalla cultural, los zurdos de mierda. Por primera vez se ven acorralados los zurdos de mierda.
I mean, look, it's hard to look at that and not think, not ask the people of Argentina, what the fuck were you thinking? But, like I said in the previous segment, we can't do what the liberals did to the Trump voters after 2016. Oh, they're deplorables. They're stupid. I look at that and I think, how awful was the incumbent government in Argentina that guy was just elected president in a landslide. In a landslide. He didn't win the Donald Trump way where you lose the popular vote by a few million, but you get enough votes in this state and that state. No, he won the nationwide popular vote by 12 points. He dominated.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, 140% inflation will do that. But besides that, if you look at a lot, I don't know enough about what goes on inside Argentina to know their culture war battles. But based on what he's saying, they sound very similar to us. I mean, it sounds like he's speaking out against a double standard in the media regarding sex scandals, and it's okay if they do it. It's not okay if we do it. They'll come at you and try to destroy you with everything they have. I think Americans need to really pay attention to the potency of that argument if you abuse power in the way that our liberal class has. We're going to be covering this today with Media Matters. Donald Trump, in many ways, that's his pitch. That's his argument. And it has a lot of appeal to a lot of people. And I would say, with Joe Biden's collapsing poll numbers with the young, if you have a Republican gets elected, the economy does better, which may not have anything to even do with the Republican. It may just be the economy recovering from post-COVID, right? But say you have a booming economy at that time. My personal prediction is that a lot of the consequences of some of the more extreme and insane cultural positions that some have taken are going to come to a head in the next couple of years. I think you're going to see a lot of lawsuits around juvenile medicalization of gender dysphoria. I think the narrative is going to shift, and there's going to be a question of how a lot of these things were allowed to happen. If all of those things happen around the same time, Gen Z is going to be to the right of Francisco Franco.
Interesting point. Yes, I could see that for sure. John Freese, thanks for the $19.99. Wow, I guess Boomer PMC Dems are okay being remembered for supporting Ukraine, Israel, and getting Trump reelected after they are gone. Plus, throwing younger people, working class, and environment under the bus. What a legacy. You sound like you read my recent article on Substack, which I can't talk about here but that's the beauty of doing Substack, is that's a free speech platform. But thank you. I appreciate that. And yes, I do agree with you. And thanks for that generous donation. Thomas Toller, thanks for the $5, my friend. Can you recommend some books that you first read that contributed to your political awakening? I'd like some resources to hit my family with tomorrow. Well, the classic, I mean, if it depends on how far gone your family is, but obviously the People's History of the United States, the Zinn book, is obviously one. Listen Liberal is obviously one. And I've actually never read Listen Liberal. I read Thomas Frank's first book, What's the Matter with Kansas? That's a little dated by now, but it's still good. I don't know, anything else?
I mean, a lot of the stuff that informs my politics is outside of that realm. Like The Human Zoo by Desmond Morris. That shifted the whole way that I look at humanity. But it's not specifically a political book. It's basically, he was like the grandfather of evolutionary psychology. Like a lot of my, particularly takes on culture, like what we were just talking about, men and women being different, really stems from that was the beginning of me thinking along those lines, that our behavior is largely dependent on how we evolved as a species. But there are other things in that realm subsequent to Desmond Morris that would be more up to date.
Basil Bezkov, thanks for the $20. Eisenhower warned of the military-industrial complex. Kennedy got the memo in Dallas 60 years ago today, November 22nd.
Oh, yeah, right.
1963. It is the 60-year anniversary.
Indeed. How could I forget our close friend who just shared our article? Hate Inc. by Mr. Matt Taibbi.
Oh, there you go. Yes, got to give Matt Taibbi a shout-out for sure. Chris Shipley, thanks for the $20, my friend. Appreciate that. We need an interview with Claudia de la Cruz, Socialism and Liberation Party. Yeah, Russell has run into her a couple times. Maybe next time you see her at one of these events, she seems to be at almost all of them. Maybe we could set that up, or maybe we can, use the internet to reach out to her as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I met her.
We don't have to run into her in person in order to. It's like 1948. Yeah, I'll hang around the town square, and next time she happens to cross paths.
Yeah, I hear that dame is always over at the People's Forum. I'm pretty sure I met her. And, she was a speaker on October 8th at the Palestine rally.
Nice. Long story short, thank you for the $5. Russ, fun Star Trek story. I got to pull down the back of Deanna Troy Marina's Certis's shirt at Comic-Con so she could show me your tattoo.
Okay, you know what? I am loving that final season of Picard so much that I'm on the final 2 episodes, and I haven't been watching them because I don't want it to end. That's how good it is.
Oh, interesting. Ryan Spence asks, Russ, have you seen any of the Spider-Verse movies? Seems like they've been the diamonds in the rough. My kids want to watch those because they're cartoons, right? Aren't they animated?
They are cartoons. I haven't seen the second one. It's on Netflix now. I keep meaning to get to it. Those are really good. You know why? They're done by Sony. They're not done by Disney. Because Sony, because of various deals that were made over the years, they actually own the character of Spider-Man. When Marvel gets to do it, it's on a licensing deal that they're doing with Sony.
Sorry, I just read 2 ones down. That's funny. Derek P., thanks for the $10. Did you guys see the Lex podcast with John Mearsheimer? Wrote the Israel lobby book. You guys are awesome, by the way. Thank you, Derek. I have not seen that. I saw that he went on. But I did not watch it yet.
It's funny that you asked that. So, look, my body tends to wake me up in the middle of the night. Keaton knows because he gets articles from me at 4 a.m. when that happens. And so to go back to sleep, I'll usually put on like YouTube videos because it's like boring enough to go to sleep to. And for whatever reason, YouTube keeps feeding me his videos. Keeps feeding me Lex Friedman. Keeps feeding me his videos. I have no idea why. I don't watch him by choice, really, as a rule. And he really lost me because last night it fed me a video and I left it on because I was like, it seems kind of interesting. He was interviewing a guy from the CIA. And I don't know if Friedman's from Ukraine or if he's from Russia. I think he's from Russia.
I think so.
But I think he's one of those like Russia hating Russians.
A
Putin-hating Russian, basically. Yeah. One of those. We've always had those. And when the CIA guy very reasonably says, more or less, Ukraine can't win this war, it got to a point that it was embarrassing how much he would not stop arguing with him about this. Well, but don't you think that it would be good for the West to have the Ukraine there as an example of democracy? And the CIA guy's like, it's not going to happen. Realistically, Russia's army adjusted and da-da-da. Okay, but the spirit of the Ukrainian people, he would not shut the fuck up about this, to the point that finally the CIA guy's like, yeah, sure, could happen. Yeah, okay.
Right.
You can see like he just wanted to move on at that point.
Right. This is a funny one. This is what I was laughing at earlier. Riff Sai, thank you for the $10. I rewatched Casino, and the scene of Pesci and De Niro in the desert pretty much summarizes America and Israel's relationship. You wouldn't even exist out here if it wasn't for me, you motherfucker, you. If you guys want to laugh, you could. There's a great video. It's on YouTube of that scene, the audio of that scene over a Bert and Ernie Sesame Street clip. So they mute the sound for the Bert and Ernie clip, and it's Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro, and it's really funny the way they did it because Ernie is has the Pesci build, and Bert has that kind of serious face that Robert De Niro had. It's pretty hilarious. So I recommend checking that out. But thank you for the donation. All right, let's move right along. Elon Musk versus Media Matters. Political reports. Musk sues Media Matters as advertising exodus continues. So advertisers fled Twitter after Elon Musk was accused of making and approving comments on an anti-Semitic post. And Media Matters piled on by basically accusing Twitter of running ads on Nazi or Nazi-adjacent posts. So Elon Musk on Monday made good on his promise to sue Media Matters, filing a federal lawsuit that accuses the left-leaning watchdog group and one of its reporters of doctoring images in an article that showed ads for major corporations next to posts depicting hate speech on X, Musk's social media platform formerly known as Twitter. You know, we know how many articles are going to mention X, formerly known as Twitter. All right, yes, we all get it by now. In a complaint filed in a Texas federal court, lawyers for X argued that Media Matters knowingly and maliciously manufactured side-by-side images depicting advertisers' posts on X. The lawsuit alleges that the images and the media promotion of that research were done with the intention to drive advertisers from the platform and destroy X, citing a blatant smear campaign against the company over the last year. The lawsuit on Monday comes as Musk and X, facing specific allegations that they endorsed and promoted anti-Semitic content on the platform, tried to quell a recent exodus of advertisers. The complaint contends that an internal investigation found that Media Matters used accounts for its research that bypassed X's ad filter for new users and followed only accounts known to produce extreme fringe content and, quote, accounts owned by X's big-name advertisers. The complaint further alleges that Media Matters, quote, resorted to endlessly scrolling and refreshing its unrepresentative hand-selected feed until it finally received pages containing the result it wanted, controversial content next to X's largest advertisers' paid posts. So basically, they are accusing Media Matters of sort of rigging the algorithm, only following extremist accounts in the hopes that after repeated refreshings, an ad would show up next to a highly offensive post. Shortly after Musk filed his lawsuit, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, my fault. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who has in the past aligned himself with the tech mogul, announced that his office would open a probe into potential fraudulent activity by Media Matters. In a statement after the lawsuit, Caruso said that this is a frivolous lawsuit meant to bully X's critics into silence. Media Matters stands behind its reporting and looks forward to winning in court. Musk, the richest person in the world and the owner of Tesla and SpaceX, pledged over the weekend to file a thermonuclear lawsuit against Media Matters, a self-described progressive research and information center that says it monitors conservative disinformation in response to the advertising boycott on X. Okay, so here's an example of what they're saying. I found a graphic with the grayed out Nazi posts, since I don't know if we're allowed to show Nazi posts or not. We'll err on the side of not showing Nazi posts. Always seems to be the safe move around here in East Berlin. But where the gray box is a Nazi sympathizing post. And then right under it, you see Apple trying to sell their new iBike or whatever. And then under the next Nazi post, you see the ad for the Xfinity Roku TV. So that's what we're talking about. Media Matters is saying, aha, look, Twitter is selling ad space on extremist content. That's what they're saying. Now, the guy behind Media Matters, just a side note, is David Brock. David Brock is the lowlife of all lowlifes. This is a piece that he came out with, or he made a remark that was commented on widely in the media. January 21st, 2016, Black Lives Don't Matter to Bernie Sanders. This is in response to that first real viral TV ad that Bernie came out with, the Simon and Garfunkel song of the rally crowds in Iowa and New Hampshire, very, very white states, so a lot of white people. And this Hillary Clinton attack dog piece of garbage decided, I'm going to use the fact that there were a bunch of white people in this ad to say that Black lives don't matter to Bernie Sanders, who was getting arrested protesting segregation while Hillary Clinton identified as a Goldwater girl. So this is the level of lowlifery that this guy is capable of. And this is partly why a lot of people are tending to, if not take these claims at face value. Matt Taibbi wrote a good article about this saying, hey, we don't know that they did this yet, but given Media Matters, given that David Brock is, like I said, the lowlife of all lowlifes, it's certainly possible, to the point where a lot of people are backing Elon on this. Here's Chris Pavlovsky, CEO of Rumble. When I said the cavalry is coming, I was not joking. In the coming days, we are going thermonuclear as well. Everyone is about to witness the greatest pushback against the censorship regime. The people's support for all organizations in this mission is critical. Seth Dillon, who's, I guess, I don't know what his title is.
Babylon B.
Babylon B. Yeah, I don't know what his official title is, but he's the creative force, I guess, behind the Babylon Bee. They attack Musk because they hate freedom, and they hate freedom because it threatens their power to control the narrative. It really is that simple. As others are pulling their ad spend to punish Musk for the crime of letting free people speak, the Bee is committing to spending more. Today, I'm pledging $250,000 toward a new ad campaign on X. It's not a lot compared to the budgets of the anti-speech bullies, but it's something, and hopefully, it will be multiplied by others who join us. Tim Pool is kicking in $250,000 toward Twitter ad buys on X over the next few months as well. And look at this, big money baller Andrew Tate. I guess he still got some money left in the bank despite his
I was
legal
very
problems.
surprised. Yeah, man.
I will advertise X on X. I will literally promote your own platform on this platform for $1 million a month. You don't need other advertisers. Simply let me know where to pay Elon Musk. So a certain cavalry definitely rushed to his defense. Now, there's a piece of video I want to play.
In a snowy cabin, Elon Musk could be heard screaming, "Oh, see! Gosh darn it, they like me!
They like me!"
Attaboy, Clarence!
Well, here's a video of Michael Schellenberger appearing on Fox News, testifying, I guess you could say, that he actually ran the very experiments that Elon Musk is accusing Media Matters of. And here he is saying that, yeah, we tried to game the algorithm the same way, and we did not see any ads next to the extremist post. So here he is explaining this.
Is this boycott attempt by Media Matters?
Hey, Jesse, good to be with you. I mean, it sounds shocking. It sounds like if you're on X, formerly known as Twitter, that you are being served up neo-Nazi content and that it's all being tied together with these big brands. Well, as you pointed out, they created fake accounts to follow neo-Nazis, and then they say that they got those ads served. Well, we did the same thing, as any journalist should have done as soon as they heard about this. We created fake accounts. We followed the exact same pro-Nazi accounts that Media Matters named, and we couldn't get any ads. We refreshed constantly. We went into the actual content itself. We then went and followed 3 times more pro-Nazi accounts. Same thing. We couldn't get any ads served up to us. So first of all, we were not able to replicate Media Matters. We asked Media Matters to respond, to explain how they gamed the system to be shown the ads after having already followed pro-Nazi content. We didn't hear back from them. I think that tells you that what's going on here, there's more than meets the eye, I would say.
All right. So my general take on this is very quick, and then I'll toss to you. I'm pretty much where Taibbi is. He wrote a post on this saying, could be true, could not be true, but given the people in question, you have to take these accusations very seriously, because if there is anyone who would sink to such a low as to do this, it's David Brock. Right. He is as dirty as it gets. And so it's possible they're onto something. And now, look, we've been talking about how a lot of these right-wing free speech populist types are hypocrites when it comes to Israel-Palestine. I stand by that 100%. This is a perfect example of, for the time being at least, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
That's it. And it's unfortunate that you don't have people like the ACLU joining this suit, because back in the day, they would have been leading the charge. You have to turn to these people who you might not like in other areas, although I will say Babylon Bee has become funnier than The Onion at this point. I don't know if that's a comment on how funny they are, how easy to mock the liberal class has become.
Although, to be fair, The Onion has gotten their mojo back a little bit on the Israel-Palestine stuff. They've put out some good stuff on that.
Here and there.
Joe Biden worries a ceasefire would only benefit humanity. That was one of their headlines.
Okay, but the Onion, I think too much of their writing staff is drawn from the liberal class to ever write the headline, investigation uncovers that NPR is all one white woman in New Hampshire doing all the voices.
Yeah, sure.
They're never going to write that headline. Yeah, and if you have used Twitter post Linda Yaccarino taking over as CEO, look, man, I called Richie Torres a whore. I think like 24 people saw that tweet.
Right.
Anytime I put up something that's on the line, it is suppressed. If I put up anything about gender, it gets suppressed. So it's hard for me to imagine that Schellenberger isn't right about this, based on my own experience using the platform, that they're just slapping Nazi ads next to Apple. It just doesn't add up.
Apple ads next to Nazi posts. Right, that's what you mean.
Right.
Nazi ads next to Apple.
Well, yeah.
They allow Nazis to advertise.
They take the Nazi ads, they just don't give them reach.
Your first month
freedom of speech
is free with coupon code Elon. Sign up today.
Yes, reverse that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if the algo, if however they're doing it is finally attuned enough that all I have to do is call Richie Torres a whore to get my tweet suppressed, how could they not be and I have like 2,000 followers, and at that time I think I had like 1,200. So how could their algorithm be placing Nazi ads next to their biggest advertisers? It just doesn't track.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And Schellenberger is another one of these guys whose work I respect quite a bit of it. But they ran on his publication right after the Israel war started. They ran a piece with the headline, "Why do so many on the left love terrorists?" You know what I mean? So I was like, oh God, like don't you guys see how this is weaponized against you? And look, this cuts both ways, because a lot of the left has embraced censorship, and we've warned against that, because we'll say it's going to turn on you during a big moment, as it has in this big moment. But then when it turns on them, the right-wingers don't see the irony. That same irony is just all of a sudden out the window, lost on them.
I mean, not to go down the rabbit hole on this, but yeah, Zionism is a cult. Right. It's a cult. And I get into this a bit in my response to Miss Margolis. You get brainwashed into this from childhood, because a lot of the things she says in that article about how we're raised to never forget, and we're raised on stories of the Holocaust, that's true. And it's called brainwashing, and it's called frightening children into believing that they're betraying their history and their culture and their people if they don't side with Israel on everything. You were brainwashed into that from childhood. And Indeed. You're getting angry that other people were not brainwashed into that.
Indeed. Pete Sweet, thanks for the $5. Owens Finkelstein interview was great. Norm stayed focused, not tangential. Owens shed light that Shapiro was afraid to do this in this space. Shed the light that Shapiro was afraid to do in this space on the right. Yeah, I heard good things about that interview. Yeah, I do want to watch that.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that.
Here we go. Tryhard7, thanks for the $2 over on Rumble. Appreciate that. What's that?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
I jumped the gun.
Which conservative political commentator has more of an influence on conservatives, Tucker or Shapiro? Yeah, definitely Tucker Carlson.
Definitely Carlson.
No doubt.
No doubt. Because I don't really hear conservatives that don't like Carlson. Right. Whereas there's some diversity of opinion about Shapiro.
Exactly. Round of applause for Jake in the booth, by the way, for fielding these Rumble rants. Thank you, Jake, for being here early today. Usually Jake is on the evening shows, but he was kind enough to be here this afternoon, so thank you, sir. Pete Sweet, thanks for the $5. Sorry, we got that one already. My apologies. SB, thanks for the $5. Woke, anti-woke political polarization is a sign that nobody has the balls to challenge the actual powers that be. Haas on Argentina. Interesting. That was his take. Yeah, I think that's fair. Meteor Dreams, thanks for the $1.99. Argentinians have a bad rap with most Latinos, FYI. Well, I mean, like I said, I'm not an expert in those politics there, but I know that, Argentina was once very prosperous, and then, it's had swings. And so maybe, like I said, I couldn't really comment beyond that. But thank you for that.
I love that musical about the lady. Yeah. Don't cry for me, Argentina.
I think he was saying, oh, you're on the soccer thing? You're this invested in soccer? I didn't know soccer had fans like this. I mean, thank you I didn't realize this was a real sore spot for you here, Jack. But thank you for the donation. Thank you for the few donations on this topic today. I think he was saying, why would voters care about it more than a perceived existential crisis like Trump at home? But I guess we just disagree. No, I think, oddly enough, what Crystal said in response to him, I thought was correct, which is that this is a moment for, and I wrote this in my article a bit, this is a moment where a lot of Gen Zers are for the first time really seeing front and center the evils that their government is capable of. Like, unless you were really paying attention during the Iraq War, you didn't really know because all that post 9/11 jingoistic patriotic fervor was so prevalent everywhere you looked. Unless you were really tuned in, you didn't realize what an atrocity that was. But now everybody can see what a horror this is. And that hits people in a very emotional way. I think most people who are wired, normally, not to sound, not to stigmatize those who aren't, but like most people see pictures of like parents crying over their dead child and feel horrible about that. And to the extent that they hold their government responsible for perpetuating that, they're going to be really, really disgusted by it. And young people who are learning all this for the first time and seeing for the first time front and center what a horror their government is willing to participate in and aid and abet, yeah, that turns people against the government. Absolutely, I think.
And we're not saying that psychopaths can't lead full lives, even as political commentators. But every now and then they miss the details. And I think Sagar missed the details here with a very psychopathic take.
Yeah, I agree. Book suggestion, Democracy, Inc. by Sheldon Wolin. Yes, people have recommended that in the past. Thank you, Pete Sweet. Appreciate that. Amanda Plummer, great in Picard. Disappointing ending, though. Well, I don't think Russ is through.
Don't tell me. Don't spoil it. I don't even know how that ends.
All right. Well, thank you, Left Les. Appreciate that. DC says free Sirhan. Well, we're talking about JFK, not RFK, but I get the point. Perfect. Beautiful. Elizabeth Marshall. Excuse me. Congrats on 20K. Thank you, Elizabeth. Well-deserved. More to come. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay. We got a few more topics to get to. Making fairly good time here. This is a quick one, but something that we thought is worth covering because we've noticed a lot of escalatory language coming from Israeli political figures, IDF spokesmouths, media figures. Despite this 4-day pause that is going over this weekend, there is reason to believe that their intentions are what we always suspected they were, which is to wipe out Gaza and claim that land. And here are some children who were manipulated into taking part in this, doing some really horrible PR, I guess, for the Israeli government, even though this video was deleted shortly after it was posted. But here's Al Jazeera English reporting on this. In another year, there will be nothing here, and we will safely return to our homes. Within a year, we will eliminate them, and then we will return, eliminate them all. We will return
to plow our fields.
This video was created by Israel's state-owned broadcaster, Khan, and plays against images of destruction in Gaza. I'll turn the volume down so you can hear me. Planes bomb, destruction, destruction. Look, the IDF is crossing the line. Look at this. This is a video that was posted by government TV. All right, now it gives the editorializing. But wow.
Yeah. No, that video, you can find it on Twitter. And last I looked, you can find it on YouTube. There is really no daylight between that and a video that might have been produced by the Third Reich. In its sensibility, in its lyrics. I mean, that is classic blood and soil fascism. Our people are connected to the land. We are going to wipe out our enemies, and we are going to be triumphant. I mean, it's really creepy and sad that they got these children doing this.
Yeah, remember the Donald Trump youth choir in 2016? He had that creepy youth choir, enemies of freedom, and people freaked out about that.
Yeah.
Notice, we covered the wrong Mike Rappaport video because I guess the day we covered that, he went viral for another video saying, I might have to vote for Big Dick Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah.
Notice the libs, man. Some of these libs, some of these never Trumpers really showing their true colors, really showing that, no, actually on these kinds of issues, you are much more aligned with not only Donald Trump, but with, as Russell said, that very same blood and soil fascism that you were so terrified Donald Trump was going to bring here, right? They see the Trump's youth chorus there, which some school group was,
right.
trained into singing that song. Oh my God, this is like North Korea. This is like Nazi Germany. They do it. Where's the condemnation? Where is it?
Right. This kind of thing is really exposing a lot of people for who they are. Because if you can watch this and not see that this is fascism, of what value are your opinions on any subject, any political subject?
Exactly.
Clearly, you have a soft spot for Nazism. I mean, this is straight up Nazism. The line, they have a line. It wasn't shown in that segment where they say, "Your blood. We will never forget a friendship like that." It's talking about how the people who are in the IDF are showing their friendship with blood. And it translates as, "We will never forget a friendship like that." And it goes on to say, "You're going to come home and bloom among us." That is shit that they would have been singing in the SS.
Yeah. No, right? Absolutely.
It's sick, and more. Just like the worst thing that could have happened to Clinton Inc. was Hillary Clinton running for president because it made people look into it. The worst thing that could have happened for Israel is this war.
Exactly. No, it's a good point. And it's not just Israel-American relations. It's actually Israel itself, because this and things like this, I mean, we've made this point on previous shows, but when we covered the Bill Maher segment early on in this latest war, where, he was basically making a very Western chauvinist argument that because Israel is a liberal democracy, they should have carte blanche to do with the Palestinians what they will, because Gaza is not a Western-style, liberal, democratized space. Well, now you see neither is fucking Israel, right? Like, the more you see of that, the more you see that even on your own premise, what you're saying is a crock of shit. What Western liberal democracy has Hitler youth choirs like that? Or, cops bashing in the heads of Orthodox Jews protesting for peace? Like, this is not a liberal democracy.
Or has children
this is a fascist
in fucking
police
prison.
State. And children in prison. Exactly. It's a fascist police state.
Right. That is the tragedy and the irony of Israel. Another thing that came up with the Margolis thing. She talks in her article about how she created a Holocaust education thing, which, for one thing, having gone through Zionist brainwashing in Hebrew school, I can imagine how she's teaching that. But I said, there's a lot of value to teaching the Holocaust. It teaches a lot of lessons about human nature and politics that go beyond Jews. But it would be good if you continued it beyond the liberation of the camps to examine how the oppressed often become the oppressors, just like abused children often become abusers. That is really the great tragic ending of the story of the Holocaust to me, that these people, particularly, I think a lot of the men, you really get this the more you delve into it, they felt emasculated, right? They couldn't save their families. They couldn't save their women. They couldn't save their children. And they took all of their hatred and their rage and their feelings of impotence towards the Nazi regime, and they projected it onto Arabs and Muslims. They attributed the same qualities to Arabs and Muslims so that they could take their revenge on them.
Yep, that's exactly right. And that's also why we talked a little bit about this on the Patreon show yesterday, but that's also why they harbor such resentment for ironic and self-deprecating Jews like us, right? That kind of Woody Allen style, nebbishy, self-deprecating, you might even say self-emasculating humor is very offensive to them. They do not appreciate that because they see that as, us sort of exploiting the victimhood of the Jewish people for laughs, right? Sort of like presenting ourselves as very weak and very vulnerable to create those kind of like Woody Allen type, wimpy, nerdy underdog characters. It undermines their view of themselves and their obligation to present themselves as pillars of strength. Meanwhile, what's strong about bombing a refugee camp? Nothing at all. They're just bullies. They're just thugs. They're just fascists. But in their minds, as Russell said, I think you're right. There is a psychological component to this.
Right. They have been redeemed through the shedding of blood.
Right. Exactly. Jewel in the Machine. Thank you for the $5. Russell, same happened to me, R.E. Lex on YouTube. I had to hit do not recommend. Now I regularly see a similar type show.
Yeah. I don't know why. I've never clicked on it. Like maybe one video here and there, but I mean, not enough to explain why YouTube keeps defaulting to Lex Friedman as the next thing in the queue.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. McDougal, this is an interesting question.
Fucking
all right.
Assad.
So he asks, why does everyone act like the advertisers are just innocent and misled by groups like Media Matters and ADL? Is it possible they just don't like Elon and the right? Well, I think the advertisers left because of pressure to renounce Elon based on his response to what was perceived as an anti-Semitic tweet. Now, it is a good question, except the only thing is the advertisers don't, I'd assume, they don't control where their ads are seen. They pay to advertise, and then Twitter distributes that according to the algorithm. So, like, I don't think the advertisers say, okay, Coca-Cola is going to give you $100,000 this month, but we only want to be shown on football tweets. I don't think it works that way. I think the media companies themselves sort of aggregate and figure out, okay, who's more likely to engage with your post based on all of these factors. But that is a good question, McDougal. Thank you for that. Janice Anderson, thank you for the $4.99. Media Matters only LARPs left. Well, yeah, of course. They call legitimate left as far left extremists. Yes. Meanwhile, they are corporate extremists. Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
They're Clintonistas. They're Clinton attack dogs.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Bagmen, hatchet men, as they say. David Brock, thanks, Cool Blue. And his media company reached agreement in 2017 with SiriusXM for programming collaboration. Interesting. I didn't know that. It's why I do not subscribe to SiriusXM. Interesting. I did not know that. Cool Blue has a lot of nuggets of information. Very well-informed viewer. George says on Rumble, Glenn Greenwald mentioned two instances. One, the Nazi post was viewed by two people, one of whom was the reporter. Interesting. And the post was only viewed by the reporter. Interesting.
Yeah, I saw that.
Interesting. Thank you, George. T-Bone 316. Katie Halper had a superb show yesterday with Nora Erekat and Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro. It was really good. I saw a couple minutes of that, actually. I didn't see not even most of it, but I did see a couple minutes. It was good what I saw. You guys should have Philip Weiss on from Mondo Weiss. Excellent. Thank you, T-Bone. Dave Delarai says, I saw a video between Candace and Tucker where he said, you got this right. It was that Chauvin wasn't a racist. What do you call it when you dehumanize someone to the point of choking them to death? Yeah, no, I would definitely say Chauvin is a racist. I don't think there's any question about that. But he said you got this. Well, what do you mean you got this right?
Well, he had a history.
Yeah, and he had a history of it too.
Doing that kind of thing.
Indeed.
What, he was saying that Candace Owens got it right?
Yeah, it was a little unclear. You got this right. I guess he was talking about Candace Owens. Yeah, saying she got it right.
Yeah, I could see her saying that. She was very skeptical of the Black Lives Movement. Hey, man, I mean, she did. I'd like to see that documentary. She did a documentary digging into where the money went, which you really can't argue with that side of it.
Yeah, that seems to be pretty well founded at this point. Auntie Ann, thanks for the $5. Dems are putting a media literacy curriculum in schools K through 12 and college. Really? Basically, don't do your own research and building censorship armies. Interesting. I would like to maybe do a segment on that. That sounds like it'd be in our wheelhouse. So thank you for tipping us off to that, Auntie Ann. Appreciate that. All right, we got two more pieces to go before we say goodbye for the Thanksgiving holiday here. This is something that broke last night. Susan Sarandon dropped by talent agency after remarks at a pro-Palestine rally. So let's see some of the remarks in question. This was a video posted to TikTok of her speaking at a ceasefire demonstration.
All over the United States, all over the world, all over the United States, people are questioning, people are standing up, people are educating themselves, people are stepping away from brainwashing that started when they were kids.
Yes.
We're in an emergency situation, but it's not easy to throw off all that brainwashing, all that conditioning that's been going on for years and years. So I would say, be strong, be patient, be clear, and stand with anybody that has the courage to speak out in your office, in your school, in your homes. We need to be there for each other. This can't happen alone, and we can see how much people care and that it is in the forefront of their minds, and we can't let it leave the forefront of their minds. So happy holidays, and I hope that you make it through without any altercations if you're going home to a family that doesn't understand what's going on. But in the meantime, hold Palestine in your heart. Pray for the people of Palestine. Their love and their resilience is unbelievable. Again, thank you to the Jewish community who has come out to have our backs.
Man, she was really asking for it there. What a horrible speech. What a hate-filled speech.
Well, I think after that, she sang, she reprised her interpretation of Touch It, Touch It, Touch Me from Rocky Horror, which really got the crowd going.
Yeah.
But I think that might be why they actually dropped her.
That really shook him up. UTA lets Oscar-winning actor go after she spoke at several pro-Palestine rallies. This is from The Guardian. The Hollywood talent agency UTA has dropped Susan Sarandon as a client after she spoke at a pro-Palestine rally over the weekend, a spokesperson for the agency confirmed to Deadline. Sarandon went on to repost a pro-Palestinian message from Pink Floyd's Roger Waters. Oh, my God. I wish I had the sound drop ready for that. On X, formerly known as Twitter, Waters had been criticized over the years for alleged anti-Semitic... There you go. For alleged anti-Semitic remarks, although he has always rejected those claims, previously saying, quote, "I have spent my entire life speaking out against authoritarianism and oppression wherever I see it. When I was a child after the war, the name of Anne Frank was often spoken in our house. She became a permanent reminder of what happens when fascism is left unchecked. My parents fought the Nazis in World War II. That's something that apparently no one wants to, count as a point in his column, that his father literally died fighting the Nazis when he was a young child, when Roger Waters was a young child. My parents fought the Nazis in World War II with my father paying...
Has no one listened to The Wall?
Yeah, right, exactly. Really? With my father paying the ultimate price. Sarandon is the latest public figure to find themselves in hot water over their stance on the war, particularly in support of Palestine. Well, yeah, exclusively in support of Palestine. What pro-Israel voices have been canceled since the start of the war, have been dropped by their agents or their managers? Scream 6 star Melissa Barrera, who was lined up to play the lead in the upcoming Scream 7, was reportedly fired from the film on Tuesday by the production company Spyglass. Variety and The Hollywood Reporter spoke to anonymous sources who cited her activity on social media as being to blame, including posts on Instagram that read, "I too come from a colonized country with a Mexican flag logo. Palestine will be free." A representative for Spyglass declined to comment to Variety. Barrera has yet to respond to requests for comment. All right, this next example is a bit of an older one, but we never covered this, so I want to read this anyway, because this is another extreme example. Last month, Maha Dakil, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name, the co-head of film at Hollywood powerhouse agency Creative Artists, CAA, faced internal backlash and resigned from the agency's board after she reposted an image on Instagram that read in part, "You're currently learning who supports genocide." Dakil added the caption, "That's the line for me." She then posted a second image that read, "What's more heartbreaking than witnessing genocide? Witnessing the denial that genocide is happening." The post prompted the screenwriter Aaron Sorkin, one of Dakhel and CAA's prominent clients, to publicly denounce her words and leave the agency for rival William Morris, Endeavor Entertainment. Maha isn't an anti-Semite. She's just wrong. He is such an arrogant fucking prick. Maha is not an anti-Semite. She's just wrong. She's a great agent, and I'm very proud of the work we did together over the last 6 years, Sorkin said in a statement to Variety. Again, these statements that these guys are making, not looking too good now, and they're going to look even worse down the road. Yes, Dakhel has since deleted both images and made a public apology. I made a mistake with a repost in my Instagram story which used hurtful language. Like so many of us, I have been reeling with heartbreak. I pride myself on being on the side of humanity and peace, Dakhel said in a statement to Variety. I'm so grateful to Jewish friends and colleagues who pointed out the implications and further educated me. I immediately took the repost down. I'm sorry for the pain I've caused, she said. So they run you out of town, and then you cuck yourself to them by apologizing anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, when I look at things like that, I've mentioned this before. I have a book called "You'll Never Eat Lunch in This Town Again" by a producer, Julia Phillips, who really paints a picture of what it's like to be in the upper echelons of Hollywood. And what really drains your finances is the need to maintain appearances. She really gets into how it's very important that you be seen driving the right car because it projects success. Right. Once people smell that you're not successful, it's a spiral, right? It'll snowball. You don't get that next project. So you have to show that you're doing very well. You have to always project success. That's the only explanation I can find for why somebody in her position doesn't have fuck you money.
Right.
Like, why can't you just be like, well, fuck you then?
Yeah, fuck you then.
What do you need it for?
Yeah.
Like, you haven't saved millions of dollars? You're at that level at CAA. You don't have millions of dollars. That's
you can't open up your own shop. A lot of these people go into business for themselves once they leave an organization. Not necessarily show business. They can open up a consulting firm, a fundraising firm, whatever. Like, there's stuff they could do. They have capital to start their own shop. They have contacts to start their own shop. This just really goes a long way in perpetuating all kinds of negative stereotypes about Jews and Hollywood.
Yes.
And as Jews ourselves, we have to say that for YouTube, as Jews ourselves, this is really not a good look for our people. For our people, once again, we're not making anti-Semitic comments. We are Semitic ourselves. We're Jews ourselves. This is not a good look, running people out of town for saying, hey, who supports genocide and who doesn't?
Right. Right. Well, we were talking about this offline. I really want to use our platform to try to start a petition against the censors, against the boycotts. Okay, who is doing this? Who is trying to shut down this conversation? Jerry Seinfeld, Amy Schumer, Sarah Silverman, Sacha Baron Cohen. Now, you pointed out, well, they're not doing much. So much the better. It'll be very easy to drive them out of the business with a boycott. Deborah Messing, let's boycott all of them.
Scream 7 should be boycotted.
Scream.
I'm not joking.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. Let's. I mean, maybe we'll need to focus it. I mean, Scream 7, actually, or is it 6? Is it 6 or 7?
No, she was, I guess, the final girl in 6, and they were going to bring her back for 7.
They were going to bring her back for 7. So, yeah, boycott that movie. We need to send a message, in the words of one of your favorite film characters, this aggression will not stand, man.
Yes. Yes.
This aggression will not stand. No, really. There are more of us than there are of them. And they need to know that if you're going to make people who stand up against genocide pay a price, well, you're going to pay a price. And Hollywood is not in any position to withstand any more backlash than it has already engendered with its shit products over the last decade.
Yeah. No, indeed. Indeed. I think that makes a whole lot of sense. A whole lot of sense. But the fact that she had to resign and apologize suggests that those contacts weren't going to be there for her either. Because, whether you work in political fundraising or talent management, it's very often for high-profile people in these networks to go and open their own thing. Just create an LLC and boom, you're open. Right. But you need contacts in order to do that. Your network is what allows you to do that. And the fact that she apologized even after being forced to resign shows that she doesn't even trust that network.
Well, they didn't make her resign. That's what's interesting. They didn't make her resign from CAA. They made her resign from the board.
From the board. That's what I keep saying. Yeah, the board. That's what I mean. But, she voluntarily had to, cuck herself there and then issue an apology anyway.
Well, that is an issue. You're not going to be able to Jerry Maguire that shit because then they're going to boycott any client who signs on with you, and everyone's going to know that. Right. But this is happening at a moment when the whole Hollywood business model is obsolete and collapsing and dying. I mean, even before COVID, if you look at a chart of movie attendance, it's just down and down and down. And partly, I would argue, that's the quality of the product they're producing. But it's a lot of other things. It's streaming. It's competition from online entertainment, things like this, YouTube. What did I just say? When I have to sleep in the middle of the night, what am I putting on? I'm putting on freaking YouTube, man. I'm not putting on a TV show.
Right, a movie, right.
I'm not putting on a movie. So, and in the past, I would have put on a movie. There wouldn't have been any YouTube, right? So all of these things are cutting in. And you go to the movies now. I'm not saying this is true of every movie, but usually the theater's pretty freaking empty, man. There's not a lot of people there. Like, you could see that this is going the way of the Nickelodeon. It's just not the way people consume entertainment anymore. And the whole business model of you do a big $250 million movie and you put it in this big, expensive to heat and power auditorium and thousands of people come to see it, it's dying. That's a dying business model. So these people are exercising the last of a power that I don't think they're going to have for very much longer.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. Indeed. All right, we got one more segment. Let's take a few super chats and a Rumble rant before we get there. Michelle.D, thank you for the $20. It's very kind of you over on Rumble. And thank you to our Rumble audience for being here today. A big Rumble crowd today, 480 over in the Rumble chat, about 1,200 here on YouTube. Hit that like button wherever you are. Hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. Nice. Hit that follow button over on Rumble. Thank you from Australia for your reporting and humor. We have no alternative media here. Well, thank you, Michelle, for tuning in.
You.
Appreciate you very much, and thank you for that donation. Let's go to some super chats here. Justin Watson, for $2, Imperialism by Lenin is a better version of Wulin. Okay.
Did Tusker put you up to this?
Did she say the same thing?
She is always recommending Lenin to me to read.
Oh boy, cops are coming for you.
Yeah. Right.
Jay
Fucking
Tolbert.
Mossad, man. They got my ID at that synagogue.
I know. Now you're
coming for me.
On the radar. Jay Tolbert, thanks for the $4.99. Imagine what the response would be if Russia made a video like that. Of course, you're talking about the chorus. Yeah, absolutely.
Or any country that's
any country.
State.
Even in America, when Trump did it, they were God, right?
Right.
How is Trump a more existential threat than Biden? Well, he isn't. That would be my answer. No, not at all.
No. And that's not to say Trump is good. His position on Israel, I don't know how much worse you could get than blank check. So I don't know that he's worse, but he's not better.
No, he's rhetorically worse the way he's rhetorically worse on the border. It's the same thing. Like with, like the difference between Trump and Biden on the southern border is Biden talks like he really cares about the immigrants, which is why it's a shame we have to put them in the cages, which under Biden are called detention facilities. Under Trump, it's, well, fuck them, it's our country. We'll turn them around and we'll lock up the ones who are here. The only thing that's different is the emotional processing of the reality. The reality is actually not different at all. Same thing with this, right? Under Trump, the emotional processing is Israel can do whatever it wants. They have the green light from us, and we support them wholly and completely no matter what. Biden is, we support Israel no matter what, but can you not be so mean all the time?
Don't.
Oh, I guess you have to. Oh, okay, fine. I mean, it's a shame what's happening to the Palestinian people, but we have to support Israel no matter what. That's it. But what actually happens between the two countries, between Israel and Gaza, is the same thing. It's the exact same thing.
Look, the boys down at the shop have been working on this. Some of our CIA agents say you could throw a green screen over Gaza and project flowers.
Right.
Can you do that for us?
Yeah, exactly.
Just hide it. Just don't do it so out in the open.
Right. Exactly. That's the only difference. All right, we got a couple more super chats, which we will take after our final segment. So last call for super chats and Rumble rants. If you send them, if you got them, send them, I should say. Thank you so much for everybody being here today. We hope you've enjoyed your little pregame session with us so far. We have one more segment to do. This is really trending right now. This kind of broke overnight. But here is a guy named Stuart Seldowitz, a former Bush and Obama administration official, on the Upper East Side, picking a fight with a guy at one of the halal food carts. I guess this is an Egyptian man who, you know, sells falafel and, you know, rice at a street vendor stand. Mm-hmm. And this is the latest in a series of horrible videos of this guy just maliciously harassing this poor vendor. There's one that came before this that is even worse. But I do want to just preface this by letting YouTube know that we do not condone any of this speech. I don't know if YouTube cares about hate speech against the Palestinian people. I don't know if they enforce those rules that much, because Netanyahu is allowed on YouTube. The IDF spokesman who called them animals is allowed on YouTube. So I don't know what the rules are regarding anti-Palestinian hate speech, but just in case you are interested in enforcing the rules equally, we do not condone in any way, shape, or form what we are about to hear. We are here to criticize this vehemently. So let's take a look at Stuart Seldowitz. This is really despicable. I mean, this is really unbelievable.
And the arrogance, again, just like the ones we were covering for the patron segment yesterday, who were just saying the worst things to Medea Benjamin, to do these things on camera.
Yeah.
To do these things on camera and just in a world of, I'm sure he's heard of the internet. I'm sure he's heard of the way these things go viral sometimes, and just with such impunity to say things like this when you know there's a camera in your face. It's just incredible. This is a pattern. These Zionists are so used to going unchallenged that it doesn't even occur to them that this could be a problem.
Yeah, indeed. Well, let's take a look at this.
Say this guy believes in Hamas.
Do you want to buy something?
No, I don't.
Okay, why is he here?
I won't give you a penny of my money.
Listen. Why is he here?
What? If we killed 4,000 Palestinian kids, you know what? It wasn't enough.
Ooh.
It wasn't enough.
Go.
I'm standing here. I'm an American. I have free. It's a free country. It's not like Egypt.
Yeah, he films him.
What's your name?
What's my name?
Yeah.
Muhammad.
Your name Muhammad?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Deputy Director in the U.S. State Department's office, pretty high up, from 1999 to 2003. So Clinton, Bush, and Obama.
That's
3 administrations.
Go.
Why should I go? It's a free country. It's not Egypt here.
Okay, I'm going to call the police. Go.
It's a free country. It's not Egypt here. You're not allowed to just harass a vendor maliciously. And over the course of several days, you can see some of these shots are in daylight. Some of these are in darkness.
Yeah, it's harassment.
He went back over and over again. Yeah.
Right. There's clear harassment.
Clear harassment. He's not a customer. He has no other reason to approach him but to harass him. And look, he shows him the Israel. That's the Israeli flag, by the way, that he's pounding on his window. All right. Rather than read the excerpts from there on Al Jazeera, let's go to City and State New York. Gotham government relations cut ties with former Obama administration official caught harassing halal cart vendor. By the way, I'll represent the food vendor pro bono if he wants to bring a lawsuit. Good for him. Gotham government relations president David Schwartz said, yes, I would like to see that lawsuit filed. Absolutely. Just one slide here, but we get to hear this asshole's apology, quote unquote. Manhattan-based lobbying firm Gotham Government Relations cut all ties with Stuart Seldowitz on Tuesday after a viral video emerged showing him harassing a halal cart vendor in the Upper East Side. Quote, I did have an argument with a food vendor, Seldowitz told City and State. So it's obvious that they got the story and they called him for comment. And they obviously started off the interview by saying, hey, there's this footage of you harassing this food vendor. So then he obviously replies, I did have an argument with a food vendor. It is quite possible that it's me. I mean, I've not seen the video, but I believe it's probably me. Later on in the article, a quote from him, I regret the whole thing happened and I'm sorry, he said. But, in the heat of the moment, I said things that probably I shouldn't have said. heat of the moment. This was over the course of multiple days. You saw in the video. Some of them were late at night. Some of them were earlier in the day. So what do you mean in the heat of the moment? It's not like you got riled up one time and said things you shouldn't have said. Even that's no excuse for saying 4,000 dead Palestinian children is not enough. But you can't even claim this was in the heat of the moment. That's bullshit.
But
that's a lie.
they're the bad guys. They're the bad guys. And anybody who doesn't side with Israel is reminiscent at best of a Nazi-era German, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Now, so that's bullshit point number one. Here's bullshit point number two. Seldowitz said that he regularly passes the halal cart vendor and wanted to engage him in a discussion about current events in the Middle East. He said he became offended when the vendor did not condemn Hamas. I went to the food cart expecting to buy a soda, and I had an understanding that most of the food cart guys in New York are Egyptian, he said. So I said to him, this is a tough time to be an Egyptian in New York.
Why
and
the fuck you even saying that to him?
Yeah, why would you even say
that? Who
the
fuck is he to you
harassment.
and you to him to say something
Yeah, who the fuck are you to say that to him anyway?
Must be a tough time to be a Jew in America. People, what do you say if somebody says that to you?
Right, exactly, right. You take that as a welcome invite to a nice conversation? No, that's hostile in itself. You're right. That's a good point. But then he replies back, why? And I said, because of what happened on October 7th with Hamas. And he said, well, I approve of Hamas, or I like Hamas, or something like that. He didn't say any of that shit. That's bullshit. That's nonsense. Okay. First of all, look, I've bought many a gyro or chicken and rice plates in New York City. These guys are under constant pressure to keep the line moving and keep everything coming and going. They're not going to talk politics with somebody, number one. Number two, you could clearly see in the video that the guy is not interested in talking to him. The vendor who's filming him just wants him to get fucking lost. He wants him out of his way, out of his business. He's working. He doesn't have time to entertain this asshole or argue with this asshole. If this guy actually defended Hamas in response to this guy who opens with a very hostile question of, hey, this must be a tough time to be an Egyptian in New York, huh? Then there would have been an altercation or an argument on these videos. But as you can see, the conversations in these videos are all one-sided. The guy's saying, get out, go, get out of here. He doesn't want to talk about it.
Well, and this is, I mean, if you've been around these kind of street vendors, his behavior, this is how they act when like a crazy person comes up to the cart.
Right.
Exactly. They try to minimize it, contain it. They want to end it. They really don't want to argue with people. Because they're doing business, man. Why they're not there to be screaming back and forth with nut jobs on the street.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that excuse is obviously just nonsense from the get-go. The whole thing was a crock of bullshit. Well, I regret that I said these things in the heat of the moment. Really, that's why you went back on multiple days, multiple occasions to harass the same guy? You're a terrorist? You're Hamas? Just shows. I mean, this guy worked pretty high up in the government under Clinton, Bush, and Obama.
Right. And yes, and that's how you wind up with the policies that we have
that
are so disconnected from the will of the American people in this so-called democracy, where 66% of people, last I heard, want a ceasefire.
Exactly. Perfectly said. All right, let's take some super chats before we end the program today. Thank you guys all very much for being here. Thank you, Jake, for being here today. Auntie Ann, thanks for the $2. Tag DD on a couple Media Lit X posts. Okay, thank you. I will check that as soon as we are done. Thank you, Auntie Ann. Appreciate that. Yeah, there we go. Hey, there's a good hashtag. I like that. Make Hollywood scream. Burn Hollywood. Burn. Make Hollywood scream. Scream 7 boycott. Beautiful. Kuznetsky Bassane says another great show indeed. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. We got a Rumble rant here, looks like. Greenfire 420. Love the idea of a boycott. Why not flip the whole thing on its head and claim fear of harassment and harm? Yeah, from pro-Zionist activists. Yeah. Threatening somebody's income is financial violence.
Yeah. I pray that guy takes him up on the offer of a lawsuit.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Shit, man, I have a press pass now. I will go there to cover the trial.
You should go to the cart and see if he'll talk to you about what happened.
I'm thinking about it. He might not want to be on camera.
He might not. I mean, you can ask him.
Well,
I'm not saying go there and bum rush him with the camera, but see, hey, would you mind?
Do you support Hamas?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Put him on camera. What's it like to be Egyptian?
Yeah, what's it like to be Egyptian with crazy Zionists bothering you?
Yeah, what's it
at your cart right now?
Yeah, exactly. What's it like to be a brown-skinned person on the Upper East Side of Manhattan with a bunch of crazed Zionist maniacs walking around interrogating you? Yeah. Cool Blue 71.
You talked me into it. I'll go over.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got nothing to lose. If he doesn't want to, he doesn't want to.
Sure.
Cool Blue 71, thanks for the $4.99. When reality TV became popular, my father predicted traditional entertainment would get replaced by people producing their own entertainment and content. Yep. Well, that has largely come
Dad
true.
called it.
He called it. And Cool Blue, thanks for the $1.99. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you wonderful folks. Thank you guys all for being here tonight. We have 515 in the Rumble chat, 1,139 of you wonderful people here in the YouTube chat. We are well over 666 likes, so let me hit the Iron Maiden and see if we can get a headbang going. Beautiful. Made that happen. For you guys. So thank you guys all very much for being here. That's all we got, Russell, correct?
That is it. That's the end of the show.
That is the end of the show. So, folks, we have a good old-fashioned day off on Friday because we're not going to spend our Thanksgiving prepping a show for Friday morning when most people are either going to be hungover or stampeding their neighbors at Walmart or Target or wherever you guys go. So no show Friday. No show Friday. No show Friday. Don't wake up early for us. This channel will be dark on Friday. But we will be back Sunday night, 7 p.m. at our regularly scheduled time. We wish you all a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. Russell and I will drop some videos on Twitter as Russ is coming up for the day tomorrow. So that should be fun, some good, wholesome fun for you guys tomorrow. And we will see you guys all back here Sunday night, 7 p.m. Do we have any other plugs that we got to get in coming up? No, we got all our patron shows out of the way for the month. And nothing. Russell's probably going to drop an article on Substack. Well, definitely between now and Sunday. So sign up to the Substack. Even if you can't sign as a paid member, sign up as a free member because now we're writing again. We're writing again because now we have, a decent sized Substack audience to the point where even if Elon fucks us when it comes to sharing it, we still get like 1,000 people to read every article that we put out. So
it's actually worth it. There's an audience for it.
Yeah, it's worth it. So go sign up, dudissidents.substack.com. You can also support us, dudissidents.locals.com as well. And, it is Thanksgiving weekend, which means the holiday season is about to start. So why don't you go to dudissidents.com/merch? Hey, Russell, why don't you cue up Menachem's theme song? Let's see if we can. Hurry to our merch store. Get the holiday shopping season started in style by going and checking us out, dudissidents.com/merch. Order now to receive it by Christmas. That's how much confidence we have in the shipping of this. But we have comfort tees, cartoon logo tees, official logo tees, tank tops, coffee mugs, zip-up hoodies, pullover hoodies, women's tees, unisex tees, dudissidents.com/merch. There's no better stocking stuffer than a Dudissidents mug, I don't think. So go to dudissidents.com/merch and get yourself some swag for the holiday season. You could also go to patreon.com/dudissidents. That's the best way to support our project. We would love to get to 500 paid members before the end of the year so we could start our fourth stream as soon as possible. So help get us there. We're getting really, really close. We are right at about 460. We may even be a couple over 460, which means we are within 40 subscribers of adding a fourth stream. So thank you guys very much. We are super thankful for all of you guys. One more super chat from Can't Stand Ya. Thanks for the 1,000 some kind of currency. I think that's about $1 because it's a red one, but maybe not. Thank you for whatever it is. well, 1,000 of whatever is good.
$1 million.
Thanks for the $1 million super chat from Can't Stand You. Saw you on Jimmy Dore, now becoming a regular.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
What's that?
It's Norwegian.
Norwegian, okay. Saw you on Jimmy Dore, now becoming a regular. Well, thank you. Looking forward to seeing you host JD. Yes, Russell's hosting the Jimmy Dore Show second week in January. Well, folks, thank you very much. We are thankful for all of you. We are thankful for this stream, and we will see you back here Sunday night, 7 p.m. Once again, I don't want anybody waking up Friday morning all excited for a show and not getting one. And so thank you all so much for being here with us this afternoon. Have fun tonight. Be safe tonight. Call an Uber if you drink too much, and have a good day tomorrow. We thank you all very much. We will see you back here Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Until then, be safe and be well.
We can't stop here. This is bad country.
Courage.
Please clap.